This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Resolved Mysteries. This is a podcast where we rewatch episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. We each take a story or two, research them to tell the stories in more depth, and we provide the latest, most up-to-date updates. Our episodes follow along and correspond with the episode numbers from Amazon Prime, so it's easy to know which ones to watch before you listen. To see photos we reference in the episode, follow us on Instagram at @re_solved mysteries, on Facebook at Resolve the Pod, and on Twitter at Resolve the Pod. You can contact us at resolvedmysteriespodcast.com. Fucking right you can. If you like us, please rate and review us on iTunes. This month, for every review we receive, we're going to donate $1 to RAIN.
RAIN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization, and they have a hotline, and they help out generally women, but women and men who are sexual assault victims. Here's what you can say.
This is how organic our process is. They tell me what to say, and I say it.
Do you want me to just whisper it all in your ear?
Yeah.
You can say it out loud.
If you can whisper it from over there, and then I'll say it, they'll never know how inept I am.
I'll pass you little notes that say what to say.
This is why they don't let me do the intros generally. It just fucking falls apart. We have two fans who are super awesome, and they set up a Facebook group for us, and they set up a Facebook fan page. If you want to join our Facebook group, you can go to our page at Resolve Mysteries Podcast at Resolve the Pod, and there's a button there, and it says Join Group. And then if you would like to join the fan page, that is at Resolve Mysteries Pod Fans. Both the group and the fan page have people are commenting. There was a fun conversation about who should be the new host of the reboot of Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries. There was a lot of discussion about what the listener nickname should be. So if you want to kind of get in and talk to other people that are listening to our podcast, those are the best places to do it. Thank you to Randy and Paloma for setting those up for us. It's super fun to go and check out and interact. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
What segments are we covering?
Y'all, I have two lost loves.
Oh my
How did that happen?
Oh, yeah. How did that happen?
I think
I scheduled it.
So. Oh, you did it?
Sure.
Okay. I was like, goes on me.
I was just trying to do like whoever does two, they do the first and the last, and the first and the last are both lost loves. It's fine.
That's generally a good rule.
So my first lost loves is a story about Hungarian refugees looking for an American GI soldier who helped them at the end of World War II.
Oh my God, I cried at that one.
I love this one.
Oh, it's real good.
It's so good.
Who has the next?
I do. I have the story of Matthew Chase. It's going to be good.
You will like it.
So stay tuned. Skip Eliza's shit, but listen to mine.
Definitely don't listen to mine.
Mine is a unexplained death of a woman named Mary Lou Geray, and it might be an HBDI.
Hashtag HBDI.
THBD.
The husband bid. The husband did it.
Bid on it, and then
The
he
husband
did
Ben
on
did
it. The husband Ben did it.
Allegedly.
Wait, sorry. Can you just say a full sentence so I can edit something in case that
I like that.
Okay.
We're leaving it alone.
All right.
What's the fourth segment?
Well, the fourth is another lost loves about a woman named Delores Valadez who's looking for her family.
Oh my God, hers was so sad.
Does not know. I
Look
know,
at the saddies.
people.
Gosh, back
happy
to
saddies.
Eliza doing saddies.
Here I am. Not too sad. No one's dead.
Okay, well, that's
True.
good. Let's do this.
Let's get started.
Okay, last love segment number 1 of this episode centers around the Dente family. So Carl Dente, Teresia Dente, and Brigitta, their daughter. And they're looking for an American GI named Philip Pelletier, which looks very French to me. So the whole time I was saying Philippe Pelletier, but I don't think it's...
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
Robert
I think
Stack
it was a
didn't
French
say
name.
it
Yeah.
Pelletier. But so this is another one which I had... I should have looked their names up, but as we said, maybe in the last episode, when I walk out of the store, I forget everything. So...
Which is actually true, because when we were discussing episode 11, a very large, funny thing, you had no recollection of it. And I was like, wow, she isn't kidding. She just completely fucking Men in Blacks her brain when she walks out of this podcast room.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
Behold your barren field of fucks, Eliza. Oh my God. It's insanity.
So, yeah, and this story just reminded me of the story of John Nellis, which I covered in episode 9, who escaped the Vietnam War, and it starts with real footage of the war. So it kind of harkened back to that. It's just really devastating. This one is similar, starting with the horrors of World War II. Yes.
God.
Karl Dente, his wife Teresia, and their 5-year-old daughter Brigitta were among a large group of refugees who were forced to flee their homes in, you say Budapest, yes?
Budapest,
Yeah,
yes.
Budapest, Hungary, in May of 1945. So that's the last year of World War II. The war started in 1941, but it was almost the worst time of the war because the German army had been defeated, but there's still, like, there's so much chaos and horror from the carnage of the war from them. And then the war was not quite over yet, and the Red Army, the Russian army, was still, like, prevalent on the Eastern Front. So they were, at this time, this Dente family were still in danger from the Red Army. And, like, I was just looking up different things about World War II. 70 million people died.
Yeah, we talked about that
Insane.
It is so, yes, that's right.
on
It is
episode 2
so
with the VMAIL letters.
Oh, yes.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 7% of the
Percent of the country.
population
Yes.
of the world
Crazy.
Of
or
the
something.
world. Yes. It's so crazy. And like I was thinking about Brigitte, their daughter. So she's 5 at this time in 1945, born in 1940. Like, her whole life has
just
been
worn
that's all
toward-
she knows.
Yeah.
I think that's why, like, there's schools of thoughts. The rise of serial killers came out of the World War II era because people became, especially in the UK and Germany and Russia, because people became so desensitized to
death and horror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, you know, it bred a generation of people that were children at the time that just died inside at a really
Yeah,
young age.
no one should. That's not the way humans are meant to
Oh,
grow
God,
up and
no.
see what they're meant to see around them. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of the main thing. The Red Army is who the Dente family felt like they needed to get away from. So they had stayed in Hungary the whole war, and it was so bad that at the end that they decided to flee. Karl is on the episode. So is his daughter Brigitte, and he says that it was very hard to leave the home that he was born in and loved, but thousands of families were having to do it and literally run away, like leave everything behind and just run away with what you could carry.
It's crazy.
It's just, we can't even fathom it. We're
Nope.
so lucky.
Yep.
Eventually, the family makes it to Austria, to a town that's occupied by Americans. So it was a safer place to be. I looked up, I'm not sure what town they were in, but I looked up like a train ticket from Budapest to Austria, and it's 2.5 hours. So it probably would have taken them like a day or two to walk there. Like they walked
At
there.
least.
At least.
Crazy.
Yes.
So they find refuge. All these refugees are living in an abandoned train, and they just, like, each family takes up a train car as their residence.
Oh my God.
And they get settled in there as the very, very cold winter is setting in. And I was looking up, like, Eastern Europe weather in December. It's freezing.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure.
below freezing.
Yeah,
Sure.
It looks like they have, like, a little wood stove in their train car, thankfully, but Karl says they had no money, no way to get new clothes, really, and found it very difficult to find food. And then he begins to cry when he says, quote, "One thing I was very happy, my family never once complained."
There's two Lost Love segments that even when I've watched these a lot, I cry every time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is one of them. It is just
Like, imagine the
so-
things we complain about.
I know.
This
Yes.
family was not complaining about living inside of a boxcar with no food.
Yeah, it
I
just made
complain
me
about
feel
everything.
Yeah.
everything.
I'm so ungrateful for everything.
Yeah.
Put me in a boxcar, please.
So in December of 1945, Philip Pelletier, a private in the U.S. Army, came to the train car where the family was living. So he's an American soldier, and he had seen Brigitte like playing with other children. And the soldiers were holding a Christmas party for the children, so he came to invite Brigitte. And in the reenactment, the parents and Karl like voicing over it. They're so happy that she gets to go, that she'll have like one thing to look forward to that's like a spark of joy in her life. You can tell, just like we would if this were us and we're like having to
Oh my God.
have our toddlers with us. Like, you can tell they do remember what it's like to not be in
Yeah.
wartime, and they're like, our child is not
Has never
experiencing any
seen-
of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
So-
never seen
or, like,
happiness.
Any,
Yes.
Yeah, any sort of happiness.
So they're very
Are
touched.
you going to talk about the reenactment of that part, though?
Of which part?
Of him inviting her? He's talking to the parents and he
Oh,
goes, a Christmas party. Ho, 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 ho. And the family's like, oh, yeah, Christmas. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, because a big thing
Yeah.
Stack talks about in his voiceovers is how like Philip and this family have to obviously get over a language barrier because they are Hungarian and Philip is American.
Oh, okay.
And so
I was like,
yes.
that seems aggressive. But
Yes,
okay.
in the reenactment. That's right.
He had a
He's
lot of
inviting
hoes.
them. Yeah. And I was also thinking, like, what if the
Hoes in different area
Hungarian. What if the. Literally. Oh my gosh, is that our episode title?
Yes. No, that's too like
Ho,
inflammatory.
ho, ho's in different area code.
That's adorable. Okay, I love it.
Shoot, if only this were a Christmas episode. I don't know. That must be a narrative that Unsolved Mysteries
Oh,
is controlling
absolutely.
because I bet the Eastern European Santa Claus probably didn't say ho ho ho. Like that's
Right.
a really recent
It does not make sense.
commercialism thing. Oh god. Anyway,
He's like,
it's hard times over there.
it is.
Times.
Sorry. Laugh because we want to cry.
Yeah. So this is my visual aid that I want to show you that I wonder if you noticed.
Ooh, okay, bring it up, sister.
So they're very excited that Brigitte gets to go, and Karl scavenges some red fabric for Teresia.
Gone with the Wind.
I know. For Teresia to make a red party outfit for Brigitte. In the reenactment, as Teresia puts the outfit on Brigitte, right as Stack is saying the outfit is handmade. Let's see what we see.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
What do you see? Right there on the
A
collar.
label?
What do you see right there?
Nice.
It's literally right as he's like,
Some wardrobe girl got
giant
canned.
label
she
and
sewed
tag.
it with her bloody fingers and then just two giant
Her
tags.
refugee fingers.
Oh my God, that
that's
is
funny.
hilarious.
So that was a bit of an oversight, reenactment oversight.
nice job, wardrobe department.
We can absolutely post that little clip. It's very funny. Nice work, Eliza. I've seen that a million
so
times
funny.
and I never even
Also,
registered
my mom, side story, my mom made myself and my Samantha American Girl doll a nightgown that looked almost exactly
that. I was
like
gonna say
that.
that looks mostly like a nightgown.
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh my
Well,
god.
why aren't you wearing it?
Oh, it was very small. I was a small child when it was made for me.
It'd be hysterical if you
In my nightgown that will be up to my waist. I'll just be Pooh Bear in it.
Oh no.
Not like a crop top, but a Pooh Bear shirt.
No pants. Okay. This story is serious, everyone.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
Okay. So I don't want to be disparaging, but I do have to say, and we can cut this out if we want to, but like
Same. I already
my
know what you're gonna
hackles
say.
were raised.
I know. Letting a soldier walk away with your 5-year-old daughter
Yeah.
on the promise that he's going to take her to a Christmas
Yeah.
party filled with other refugee children.
I agree. I had that same thought, but it seemed to me that it was very like in an obvious place of the area that everybody knew about and
Yes.
everybody knew what was going on.
And he's
so-
in like an open army car. And so I just want to say that like as a thing that to the listener, don't worry, I definitely thought about that. And I was
Yes.
actually waiting for something bad the whole time because that's how I
Yeah.
view the world. So if you're thinking like, why didn't the girls think this was crazy? We did.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. But it turns out I think it's okay.
Also,
And
there
I
could have
think-
been. Oh, go ahead.
I think they may have already been friends with him like they already had some trust in him.
Eliza's like, I don't fucking care about
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
I know.
I think maybe too they found like she was playing with a group of other children in the reenactment, so maybe other soldiers were taking other children that
Oh, I think so.
they knew in the community
Yeah,
too.
totally.
So like, I don't know.
And also, like, they're surviving.
Jesus Christ,
the
they're probably
worst
like,
and-
okay,
Yeah,
like they just
totally.
want
They're
anything.
They're probably
good.
like, she might get to eat food there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And maybe
So-
she can put some fucking food in her pockets. For as you know, her mom sewed some pockets in that dress.
Oh, I hope so.
Queen's
In that
tight
label, in that Mervin's dress that they got.
Mervin's dress.
Yeah, so I just want to say that was something I was thinking of in my 2019
Yeah, that's a
brain.
good call out.
Totally.
So on the night of the party, we hear Brigitte as an adult doing a voiceover as we see young Brigitte in the reenactment getting picked up by Philip. You can tell, like, in the little girl actor's eyes, she's just so happy. She just stares at him adoringly.
Oh, yeah.
Which is probably totally what it felt like. And she says the party made her feel like a princess.
She had literally never experienced
No.
like a nice thing
Yeah.
No.
of any sort.
And she describes everything in such vivid detail. Like, it
yeah.
also made me think, this is 40 years later for this woman. Like, even 25, 30 years later to my childhood, I can't picture anything that vividly because I was surrounded in general by nice things. Like, in a middle class, you know, it's just, she said, I felt like I was in a dream and I never wanted the dream to end.
Is the reenactment like hazy too?
Yeah, oh, yes,
I feel
there's like
it
a
has
magical
slow
glisten
now.
to
Yeah,
everything.
that's what I
Yes,
thought.
and there are
Yeah.
like beautiful, like real candles on the Christmas tree, and it's
and like
just
fancy food.
fancy
and
food.
all kinds of things.
Yeah. So after the party's over, Philip brings Brigitte back to the train car, and the Dentes and Philip spent a long time talking and laughing, despite their language barrier. They forged a friendship on that day. Like, that's really when Karl says that they became close and just had a wonderful time together. And then Philip continued to help the family and other families in the camp. And Robert Stack says he became kind of like a Santa Claus to everyone, helping families when he could, bringing them food and gifts.
Oh my goodness.
And then
He was
one
probably
day,
like 19 too.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
probably
He must have been young.
Yes.
so young.
Yes.
You know, to just have like that capability for empathy and to try to
Yeah.
help all of these families,
know.
like all of these families. It must have felt so defeated.
And some of it
so
was just
often.
based on bringing them joy, too. It wasn't all just food. Like, some of it was presents and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just doing a nice thing.
well, that's an interesting,
person.
like, it's a really interesting time in the war. And I don't know a lot about, like, the history of war stuff, but because of it being later in the war, Germany's defeated. It's almost like this American occupied city, like the soldiers there maybe had a little bit more time to help
That's
the
true.
refugees that lived there.
Yeah.
Because there's
'cause
not
they
like the
weren't doing
imminent threat
anything.
of danger
Yeah.
or.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of hanging out, waiting for like next orders or what they
Exactly.
were going to do next. So
Yeah. And so then, speaking of next orders, one day Philip comes to the train car and tells the Dente family that he's being shipped somewhere else. And in the reenactment, they look very, very sad, which I can't imagine. Like, you get this one beacon of hope, like a friend and someone you know who has resources to help you. Like, I'm sure they were friends with the other refugees in the family, but in the camp, but they're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
So you can tell they're very sad, and Karl in his voiceover is like still remembers how sad it was that day to have him say he had to leave. Philip did give him his address back in America, and then some said it was his address in America, and some said it was his address to the new station
I think
he was going
it was the
to.
one in France. But I don't
Okay.
know.
And then a photograph of him. So Karl says it felt like a part of his family left when Philip left. So after 11 years in Europe, after the war, the Dente family finally were able to emigrate to America. In the move, they lost all of their possessions as they flew to the United States.
As they flew?
Yes, like something happened in the travel overseas.
I mean, probably what happened was that they were refugees and someone just took their shit.
Nobody cared.
Because they had
So they lost
no legal
it's
standing.
so horrible. So they lost almost everything. They lost Philip's address, but they did still have his photograph. So they still have his photograph, and Unsolved Mysteries shows the photograph, and they say that historians think he was a private in the army, judging by like the uniform. It's interesting because I don't know if they didn't know his last name, because if they had, Unsolved Mysteries would have said Philip Pelletier.
Oh,
or Pelletier.
But they knew he was from Maine.
Yes. But I was just thinking today uniforms have like your last name on
they
them.
do in the military as well?
Yeah.
Oh, huh. Yeah.
So they must have just not had that then.
Interesting. Well, think about it. There were so many people at war. How are you going to get...
Well, yeah, they're not going to focus on that. That's so true.
Like, things weren't mass marketed then, so it was someone sewing uniforms.
Yes,
you know?
that's true. They had his picture. They knew his first name was Philip, and they knew he was from Maine. So we can add another to our checklist of things Unsolved Mysteries helped solve or find, because
KB.
This is number 10 on the list.
number 10.
Yay.
So within an hour, this might be the fastest.
Holy.
Within an hour of the show's original broadcast, a woman named Polly Defty of Augusta, Maine, called Unsolved Mysteries 800 number, which I wish was still a thing, to report that the man was her cousin, Philip Pelletier.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Yeah. She told Unsolved Mysteries that he lived in Hammond, Indiana, and Unsolved Mysteries called the Dente family and helped to arrange a reunion, and we get to see this whole reunion. Please, like, if you're not... Many of you are watching along, and of course it's not a requirement, but it is a very heartwarming thing to watch this segment for sure.
Yeah. You'll get all the feels.
Yes.
Philip has the like most adorable old-timey face. Like, why?
There was that pause when he opens the door, and he's obviously aged 40 years.
Yes.
But you can still a little bit see it in his eyes, like
totally,
him harkening back, and he just has these glasses, and And he opens the door and he says, "Bridget," to the woman, who's a woman now.
Oh my gosh.
So Teresia, the mother, had died a few years prior to their search working out and him being found. So it was just Karl and Brigitte that got to see Philip again. But after 30 years of living in the States and actively looking for him, they're able to go to his house and meet him and his wife. It's just looked like a really special time. And Brigitte had tears in her eyes. Like, you can tell he just meant so much to their whole family. And
The hug between the dad and Philip.
yes, they wouldn't stop like side hugging. They couldn't like let go of each other. It was very heartwarming, and it also made me think, what have I done in my life that someone's gonna look back and be like, she really changed the course? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So it was heartwarming, and then it also made me feel like a terrible person. So
Well, as long as you made it about you.
always. Just kidding. So I didn't really need to do a very heavy research update for this one, but I do have a few things. In 1990, Karl Dente wrote a book about his experiences in World War II.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And coming to America, and it's called Memories of an Immigrant with an E. I found it on eBay and Amazon. It doesn't look like it was like sold a lot of copies, but he wrote a book, which is more than I've ever done. So impressive. Maybe we could post a picture of the book on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Karl Dente passed away in 2000 at the age of 81. Brigitte Dente, who was later Brigitte Laramie, had 2 sons in Michigan, and she passed away in 2004 at the age of 65.
Oh.
I know.
Too young.
It's young.
Really young. And I couldn't find what from, so yeah, that was too bad. Philip Pelletier, the private, had 5 children with his wife Lucille,
Nice work.
and he passed away in 2001 at the age of 76. And it looked like on findagrave.com, one of his children had died at the age of 28 in like 1978 or something. So that is heartbreaking. So I was on Sitcoms Online, of course, just trying to beef up this segment a little bit. And we go there for almost everything we talk about.
Well,
I would
yeah.
say.
But that's where we always start or end.
A lot of good comments.
So good. So, and a lot of people who really care about the segments, like they go on there to specifically find out more. So I was searching for information about the case, and I found a post, and all it said was Philip had been arrested for patronizing a sex worker. Of course, the post said prostitute, not sex worker. So I looked it up, and sure enough, Philip Pelletier was arrested in 1995 in a sting operation.
95?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was like 71.
I mean...
He agreed to pay for sex acts from a woman named Peaches, who was actually an undercover cop.
Okay, that should have been a giveaway.
And 6 other men were also arrested that day because Peaches fooled them all.
My goodness, Philip.
No, I didn't want to know this about
children.
Philip.
I know.
5 children is not
But-
enough for 71-year-old Philip.
So it's a bit of a bummer, but also I think sex work should be legal, so I
Yeah,
don't know
same.
how to
I
feel
was like,
about it.
I'm not that.
I mean, I was a little disappointed in him, but then it's like, because he had a wife, he's being and they were
he was still
married.
married.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is shitty.
That's shitty.
Although they've, at that point, probably been married for like 50-something years.
Well, when your partner steps out on you in 40 years, I'm...
Oh, I'll kill him.
See?
No, the rules are different for me.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was a bit of a bummer on my views of Philip.
Philip.
For once, I wish we
Karlin is
didn't have an update.
very disappointed.
I really liked him.
It was deeply buried. I almost didn't find it.
Holy moly.
I can't believe that someone on someone was like, oh, and also.
Oh,
yeah,
it was
and
just a
just
one-line
so you
thing.
know.
One-line thing, like just dropping a bomb and latering out.
Yeah.
The one article I did find about it said it was one of the first times that the police in Hammond, Indiana targeted the men eliciting the sex workers instead of actually the sex workers,
That's
which I really
awesome.
liked.
Nice. Sorry, Philip.
Yeah, sorry.
Times are changing.
So then really quickly, this is just a interesting thing I found about our whole love for unsolved mysteries in the podcast, but it has to do with this case. But it's an LA Times article called Unsolved Mysteries, Cracking Cases and Repairing Lives from 1990. This says NBC series mixes theater with public service in solving 35 crimes and reuniting 10 pairs of loved ones.
Wow.
And this is 2 years into the season, too, so we haven't gotten to all of them anyway. But also, I think with Amazon Prime mixing things, we may not see the 35 in 2 years from now.
Right.
But I wanted to just read part of it. It's talking about this case, but then it's also interesting how it talks about how they got their cases. This is Carl Dente, a quote from him for the article. For 40 years, I can't find him, and then the show finds him in 40 minutes, said Dente, who brought his family to the United States after the war and settled in Michigan. I was looking for him in newspaper ads since 1956. Then I saw the Unsolved Mysteries show and sent a letter to NBC in New York, end quote. But to say that the program relies solely on fate to find its subject matter may be a little disingenuous. Quote, Unsolved Mysteries advertised in the Veterans newspaper saying the show wanted soldiers who were looking for nurses who treated them in Vietnam.
That's in another segment. That comes up in another episode.
Yes.
Interesting. So they were like, this is our angle.
Wow. Oh, I love that.
Said veteran James Mead, who was reunited with nurse Karen Nelson
Yeah, that comes up.
after an appearance on the program. So we'll get to that case. Quote, the ad said the person who wrote the best letter could get on the show,
Oh.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like at this point, they're starting to get more popular and people are writing to them. So
Sure.
they have to have a way of picking the best one. One of the producers, Muir, insisted that the incident was not typical. That's the only ad we ever put in the paper, she said. That was the researcher's idea.
Also,
so
it's
she's
not- I
a
don't
little
think
bit defensive about doing that. And I don't think it's a really bad thing.
I don't
I
think
don't
it's a
either.
bad thing either.
I think they're like, we want to have different types of segments, and like this is
and we
kind
want to help people.
I think they
Yeah.
were also trying to like uphold the people's view that they're just like in an amazing way finding these cases and how do they do it and like
I
really
see.
trying to help people, and maybe if it's more of a if it gets out there that it's kind of like a contest, then
the
it won't
best
have
letter
that
wins.
reputation.
Okay, I could see
Right,
that.
I get it.
Okay.
So just the end of it. But if Unsolved Mysteries does produce its subjects as much as simply find them, perhaps that in itself is an analogy of what the show is all about. Robert Stack quote, we're balancing two needs here, said host Stack. We're trying to produce theater and we're trying to do a public service.
Oh my God.
Unquote.
He is just so
Shut
classy.
down.
Yep. He's
Shut
like,
it down. And
we are
that's how
doing our best.
that's how the article ended too. They were
Nice.
like, and Stack has the last word.
Yes, he
Interesting.
does.
Nice
Forever.
little tidbit there.
So that's it.
Nice.
That's the story.
Great.
It's over.
we heard you. Good.
And
Bye.
bye. And we are recording.
Good. That's great that we're recording because I have a story to tell.
Oh,
Gather round.
Gather around, children. So, segment 2 is a missing person segment, and it is the tale I was like, gather around children, I'll tell you a story. And then I
Yeah.
stuck with that. I just fucking leaned into that. It's the story of Matthew Chase. So June 8th, 1988 in Los Angeles, a very different Los Angeles than the Los Angeles that exists today. 22-year-old Matthew Chase comes home from having dinner with his roommate, Teresa Dahl, and realizes that he has forgotten to deposit his paycheck. Matthew Chase had known his two roommates, Teresa and Steve Dahl, since childhood. They moved to LA from Medford, Oregon.
What is happening?
Did Medford have a rough decade or what?
Or there's just some weird thing where they pulled stories from people from there.
I think it's like we were talking about the last time we spoke about Medford,
Yeah.
the way that they probably would say to a police officer, do you have any more unsolved cases or weird cases?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
This one is much more loosely related to the town, but still.
Yes.
I've never heard so much about Medford, and we live in the
Yes.
state Medford is in.
Ever. Yeah. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I want to go to Medford now, obviously. So can we take a day trip so I can
we
check
will
it out?
absolutely do a field trip.
Okay.
Your mind will be blown.
I'm sure if there's a bar in Medford,
Fields upon fields.
Oh,
I'm
honey,
gonna love
there
it.
is. But
fields
it's,
upon fields.
Okay.
and a bar.
Yeah, we can make a bar the
Yeah.
destination.
there's lots of wineries, actually.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. So anyway, yeah, they moved to LA from Medford. They were very young. I think they were probably like 19. They were babies. And Steve was a year younger than Teresa and Matthew. So it's almost midnight, and Teresa tells Matthew to take her car and pick up some cat food on the way home. I don't know why that's relative. It never comes up again, but I guess they had one or two.
Starving cat.
A hungry cat
Hungry
was
cat.
involved. Maybe the hungry cat did it. I don't know.
Oh.
We have criminal horses,
I
criminal
mean,
cats.
they do what they got to do.
Yeah,
when
cats
they're
are way
hungry.
shiftier than horses, I think. So Matthew left with just his bank card, and he didn't take his wallet. Teresa tells us that it should have only taken about 10 to 15 minutes for Matthew to go to the ATM in this store. She said the bank was only 2 blocks away and that he normally walked, but since it was so late and the neighborhood at the time was very dangerous, he took his car. The Teresa Dahl, I think, at the initial interview is probably 20 or 21.
Seems very young.
Yeah, but she's so poised, and she's beautiful, and
And her haircut is back in again.
oh my god, I
Yeah,
know
she looked great.
Yeah, we're gonna post a photo of her. She is just really eloquent, and for someone that's that age that is going through what she's going through, I absolutely would not have behaved that way if it were me. So Matthew made it to the ATM, but he never made it home. And 5 months later, his friends and family are still searching for him. The day after he hadn't come home, his roommates called the police. And I'm sure the police were like, yeah, okay, bye. Like, you know, we have like a 20-year-old white kid missing, you
Yeah.
know, like it's LA.
Yeah.
And the
cares?
poor roommates were probably waiting for it to be long enough for them to legit call.
Yeah. They didn't, apparently didn't get any, and we'll circle back to this, but they didn't get any attention from the police officers. So the super sleuth siblings, because they're amazing.
Yes, I love them.
I love them.
They are
and
the
also,
best
I just
friends.
appreciate that they were like, we are your family now because you live in LA and
Yeah.
this is what you got. So we're going to help you.
Yeah, we're here by ourselves and
Yeah.
like we're sticking together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was consistently, and even researching this, just astonished by their love and dedication for
Yeah.
each other at such a young age.
Totally.
And,
It's
you know,
admirable.
I feel like most people that age would be like, I mean, I went and looked for him a few times. You know, it's
Right.
yeah, it's really moving. These two just turn into they become a detective team essentially. They call the bank and they ask for a list of transactions of and where and when they were made.
By pretending to be him.
Yeah,
Which
so
is,
Steve
speaks
pretended
to
to
the
be him.
80s.
Yeah, they just I know.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, they
hey, it's me, Matthew.
yeah.
Oh, okay, Matthew. Let me tell you all about your bank account information.
Hey, it's me, Matthew. I got shit-faced last night. Can you tell me where I was? Like, what did they
no problem,
say?
Matthew. We got you.
I don't know where I was, but it's me, Matthew, 100%. Like, they didn't even ask for like a social.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Definitely not. They're like,
Yeah.
we're going to take this into our own hands.
Over and over and over again, I was just like, oh my God. Like, do they grow up to be like a crime fighting team?
I hope so.
Jesus.
Is that in your update?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff in my update. So Detective Scott Burkhart of the LAPD tells us he knew this wouldn't be a normal run-of-the-mill case. He works in missing persons, though. So this is actually a normal run-of-the-mill case. A person is missing, Burkhart. Do you want to go find him?
Isn't that how this works?
Like, I was like, what do you mean this isn't a normal run-of-the-mill case for you, honey? This is
Yeah.
you have one job. It's to find people that are missing. This person is missing. And as we'll find out later, he did not search for this missing person.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yes.
my gosh.
So, bye. That is the last time we'll visit Detective Scott Burkhart. So, through the ATM records, Steve and Teresa are able to determine that Matthew Chase deposited his check and took cash out. And then apparently he returned to the same branch 30 minutes later and tried to withdraw $280, which he knew was over the amount he could receive per day. Looking at you, Gretchen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that too.
Yes.
So this leads the detectives to believe that he was either being forced to withdraw the money or he was signaling the bank for help.
Yes.
There were 2 more attempts to withdraw money that night. The first was for $200 and it was declined due to insufficient funds. And the second was for $100, which was declined due to insufficient funds because Matthew's paycheck hadn't posted.
Oh, yeah.
And I have, as a sidebar, a little tidbit for any would-be muggers out there. A, don't mug people. It's fucking terrifying and it's bullshit. Go rob a bank or whatever. Like, just please leave people alone. B, if you are going to mug someone, do not mug someone in their early 20s.
no.
Everyone in their early 20s is fucking
Has
broke.
$6 in their bank account.
Yeah.
True.
Like, come on.
You're right.
That's
That's just
so
a waste of
true.
your time.
And it's a waste of your time. Yeah. I was going to go into this whole thing about this one time that I was mugged, but it's funny, and this isn't a funny case. Well, it's funny for me. So I'll tell you guys about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
tell
I
us,
wanna know
please,
that.
later.
So the card is tried again 11 minutes later in a different neighborhood. And I was like, presumably these perpetrators don't know how ATMs work. They're
yeah,
computers.
what? Let's try a different one.
But it's so early on that
It
they're still
is,
calling
yep.
them automated teller machines.
Yep.
And if you're a particularly stupid person, you probably think that they work in total isolation of each other. And there's no, like, you don't probably
Yeah.
know what a fucking computer is.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
totally.
it's 88. The ATM took photos of Matt, and these photos are so creepy.
Yes.
so
Oh my God, we're gonna
creepy.
post them, but they are.
They look like my photos from the Queen Mary.
Oh, that's true.
It's like a
They
ghost.
do look like it's a ghost sighting.
Yeah.
I mean, these photos are also legendary on the internet. Like, people have tried to clean them up, and they've tried to use all sorts of, like, you know, aside from Photoshop, which would be the basest thing that you could use.
Yeah.
All of these, like, photo cleaning software things. I mean, so much attention was given to this case by the online community.
I was actually even surprised that they thought to have cameras in ATMs that early.
Yeah, I mean, I bet initially they probably didn't, and then a bunch of people got robbed.
Yeah.
And then they probably did.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Because
know?
Stack even makes a note about him looking over his shoulder or
Yeah,
something, right?
he's like, it's strange for someone to be this close. And now you're like, yeah, no shit.
yeah.
Like,
yeah, so the photo is like of
It's
Matthew
haunting.
and then a blurry figure very close to him, like over his shoulder.
That kind of just looks like a head.
And the way they show it is like 1 second he's by himself, and the next second there's someone attached to him. It's just, oh my God.
so creepy.
Yeah. They said that the man was short and stocky, but I wasn't sure about that because if you're leaning over to look over someone's shoulder, you look like you're smaller than them. So
Yeah.
I was like,
It's real hard
I didn't
to
get
tell
that from that image, and
either.
neither did I from the reenactment. The reenactment guy wasn't short and stocky.
I mean, there was only so much that they could theorize from this blurry, shitty image.
Yeah.
You know, police suspect that Matt may have been abducted by the man in the photograph. Fucking duh. While he was making his first deposit and withdrawal, they think that he may have tried to alert the bank by making withdrawals for large amounts, hoping to get some attention. So, over the next day and a half, there were 5 more withdrawal attempts. I initially was like, did they hold on to him? Like, that's so fucked up. But then I was like, well, maybe they just got his PIN,
Right.
you know? So, either way, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it, but there is still like a little bit of like, where did that time go? You
Yeah.
know? Within the next day and a half, Matthew's paycheck had cleared. So $400 was taken out of his account. All of this is over $400.
Yep.
It's crazy. Finally, the card was confiscated, and in the reenactment, there's this thing, this like plastic it looks like a garage door, and it slides down over the ATM. Okay, when I saw that, I had like a visceral reaction
Because it's taking the card.
because it wouldn't give the card back. And I think like
Yes.
when I was in high school and in college, they still had those around like Philadelphia and like in New York City and stuff, like the old ATM machines. And I vividly, like I just flashed back to being like, no, knew because I had tried to take money out so many times and I didn't have any in my account.
Oh, that they took it?
Yeah, and I was instantly just like flashed back to
my
like
God.
being young and being like, fuck.
Because now, like, they'll just suck it in. Like, if
Yeah, and then
it's
you
a
can go to the
fraudulent
bank
situation.
the next
Yeah.
day and
Yeah.
be like, hey, it took my card or whatever. But like that fucking plastic barrier coming down.
It looks very ominous.
Oh my God.
You were having
was
a
the
trauma
thing.
flashback.
I was, which is very selfish because this is in no way about me and my fucking lack of funds in my 20s.
We always manage to do that,
We
don't
do. We bring it back to ourselves. That's the society we live in. So the card was confiscated, and it was actually pulled because the super sleuth siblings, Steve and Teresa, had put a freeze on the account, hoping that the card might tell them what bank he was going to and where the people who took him are and where Matthew might be. And also they were going to bring the information to the police, and hopefully the police would be able to get fingerprints off of the card. I mean, these kids are
So smart.
fire.
Yeah.
Truly. Like, for them to know to do all that then.
If my roommate
And
went
it
missing
was
when
their idea to call the bank, and then they gave the detectives that information.
I know.
Like, what?
If my roommate went missing when I was 19, I probably would have just like crawled into a ball and cried.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I hope the detectives felt stupid, but I don't think they did, or that they probably cared.
Oh, we're gonna get into this police department, honey. It took a little bit more than them feeling stupid for anyone to give a fuck. So obviously, the doll siblings are someone that we all need in our lives. So if you don't have doll siblings, get yourself some because goddamn, if you go missing, you want this croc team on you. It's crazy. They interview Steven, and I don't know how old he is at the time. I think he was probably about 17 or 18, but he is like already dressed like an FBI agent. He's got like a black suit on with a black tie, but his collar is really big. He's just like a baby. He's a little baby boy dressed like in a grown-up outfit, but he's super eloquent, and both of them are amazing. Like, oh God. When the card was dusted for prints, none were found. The police suspect that either the card was wiped off or that the abductors used gloves. Matt's mom and dad come down from Oregon to search for him. Oh God. And the car he was in, it is so upsetting because this couple didn't want their son to move to LA. You know, LA at that time was fucking crazy.
And they're from Medford.
Yeah.
It's
And
a whole different world.
yeah, and like they would come down whenever they could, and they were terrified. And Frank Chase says that at first they had great hopes that they would stumble into the car or something in the near proximity of where Matt had lived, but after 3 nights of searching, they became very frustrated. Susan Chase then says that LA can be a dangerous place at night and that they saw a lot of things that were very frightening. And it just broke my heart. And I even took a screen grab. There's like in the reenactment, they're walking down the street and they're silhouetted. And it's like all these neon lights around them. And it's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
these two, you know, being like, we didn't want our son to go here to begin with.
Like, their worst fear came true.
Yeah. So police believe that Matt may have been injured in a mugging and walking the streets with amnesia. Real fucking quick. Okay, so we've had this in the past. We're going to have it in the future. I just want to talk about amnesia for a second, everybody, okay? Really quick. Just want to throw some stats at you, okay? So retrograde amnesia, which is what every amnesia segment is talking about, is very uncommon. It affects 0.2 of the population, and within the population, it's mostly found in adults who experience a highly traumatic event like war or natural disaster, or a kidnap, obviously. But of our population, it's only 0.2% of people that experience very traumatic things.
Yes.
That is a very small part of the population. So while I know that it occurs, Rajesh Kane is a great example of someone losing their memory. That wouldn't even be retrograde amnesia because he had a stroke most likely.
Right.
So super, super rare.
Yes.
I'm not being a bitch. I'm just clarifying.
No, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
at that point, everybody thought everybody had fucking amnesia.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's
80%
crazy.
of the people in UM have amnesia.
Yes, it's super nuts. You know, I feel like I'm specifically annoyed in this case because while they were focusing on this amnesia angle, they could have been looking for Matthew.
Yeah.
You know, like they just took it in a completely ridiculous direction instead of using their heads and being a little bit pragmatic, you know? So Teresa and Steve, the greatest friends that humankind has ever created, no offense, guys, went down to the missions and showed Matt's photo. Some of the volunteers said that Matt had been coming there and they described him. And Teresa, Oh my God, she is so excited.
She's so hopeful.
Because she says, oh, they described him perfectly from a small photo. They said he was tall and skinny. They must have seen him. But now in 2019, we know that eyewitness testimony is usually garbage.
Yeah.
And, it didn't go anywhere. 3 weeks after Matt's disappearance, the car he had been driving was found abandoned close to where Matt had vanished. The car is dusted for fingerprints and any other latent evidence, and it's completely void of fingerprints, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Not
it's
one
crazy.
print inside. That's like super, super intense.
Definitely been wiped.
Yeah. The police did find one clue in the car, a blue bandana, and it didn't belong to Matt or Teresa. They believe it may have belonged to the perpetrator or perpetrators. It's a light blue bandana. It's pretty cute.
Just like Gretchen Burford's
I know.
perpetrator left a paisley hat.
So
It's so
this
crazy.
whole story is
If
so
you
similar.
think that got past the internet, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same area, same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That is definitely a route that people went down for
Yeah.
sure. And if you're wondering what we're referring to, it is the first part of episode 7, Slather It On, where Karlin talks about the case of Gretchen Burford. And it's very similar to this one. So Matthew's mother says that she doesn't want to think that anything bad has happened to Matthew and that she's very hopeful that he's somewhere and that he's all right. And she says, I really think I will be with him again sometime. I know. Teresa says that she senses he's still alive and that has kept her and his friends and family going. She says they'll never stop looking until they find him, and she knows that they'll find him. She says, he means a lot to me. He's my best friend. And then they show his driver's license photo, and he is so fucking cute. He looks like a child,
Yep.
like he looks so young. They give stats about Matthew, and Stack says that he has a tattoo of a $sign behind his right ear.
I know. I was like, badass.
Also,
I love
like,
that.
honeys, people did not do that.
No, I know.
Like,
People
now-
would do that now.
Yeah, like now we're all covered
Yeah.
with tattoos and nobody cares. But like that was a bold move to put a tattoo behind your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I would love to know the story about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Stack himself then gives the update. On March 29th of 89, the LA coroner's office positively identified the remains of Matthew Chase. His remains were discovered in a ravine in Pasadena on September 17th of 1988, 3 months after he disappeared. I mean, I had a feeling that he was killed right away.
Yeah.
So Detective Lionel Salgado of the Pasadena PD Homicide Detail says that they think Matthew had been down in the ravine from the last week of June until September. But he was killed on June 8th. So I don't know where that 2 or 3 weeks in between comes from.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he was still alive and if they were holding him. I don't know. But I thought that was really strange that he was really specific about when he was killed and his body was left versus when he went missing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Obviously, the ATM person is wanted for questioning his death. They give an artist rendering. It does not look promising. It looks like...
I mean, the profile is kind of the only thing they have to pull from. And
Yeah, I know. And, like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like, they basically just, like, did an outline of the profile.
Oh, of the
And then-
ATM footage?
Yeah.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The killer may have been driving Teresa's car around a 1983 red VW GTI, which... Oh my God,
The
when I was in
cutest.
high school, I wanted a GTI.
Oh, yeah. My
so
friend,
One of my high school
dad
boyfriends had one.
What? One of mine too, girl.
His was teal.
Oh, and then they showed the blue bandana, and it is quite different from the bandana in the reenactment. It has a bunch of letters on it, ESPBSCIS, and is clearly gang related.
Whoa.
Like, to me, the minute I looked at it, I was like, this is
Well,
related
when I
to
heard
gangs.
blue bandana, I was like the Bloods and the Crips,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, the Crips. All of those like abbreviations. The minute they showed the photo, I was like, I will eat that bandana if this is not gang related.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Teresa says she hopes to find. They go back to Teresa, and I think there's. I don't know what the in between time was. It wasn't very long, but she looks so much older. Like she looks like she had aged so much. And she says that she hopes to find his killer and that he must be brought to justice. Mr. Stack extends the show's condolences to Matthew's family and friends, which is something I don't think we see very frequently, and says that the show strongly shares in the family's desire to see their son's killer apprehended. Although the case is similar to the case of Gretchen Burford, we will find out that they are not related. So Here is my update. After 30 years of speculation and accusations, the family and police are almost positive that they know who did it.
Oh my God.
Less than a year ago, which is the exact reason why we do this podcast, on February 25th.
Oh no, I'm scared.
February 25th, 2018, Michael Wise, the admin of the Facebook page Justice for Matthew Chase, made the following announcement, quote, "With very special thanks to Matt's sister Christina and my co-administrator Matthew Pattison for their labor of love, a very big update. We feel confident that Matt's killer was killed himself within 48 hours of Matt's death.
Whoa.
His name was David Bear Meza, and his death certificate indicates that he died on June 10th, 1988, the day after Matt's disappearance.
What?
We're thankful Meza cannot hurt anyone else. Although the possibility of accomplices can't be dismissed, the main perpetrator is long since off the streets. We will always keep Matt's spirit alive and look forward to watching this community grow." This Michael Wise, I believe, was integral in getting this case solved. He contacted police at Pasadena police in 2012 and asked them to reopen the case. And I think maybe they reopened it because of an incident with the detective that we'll get to in a few minutes.
Oh, and so was this guy just a friend of Matthew's?
I don't even think he knew him.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
It seems like he didn't know him because he's like on the Facebook page, he's asking for information. If anybody knew Matt, if anybody has short stories to.
Wow.
So I'm not sure if he knew him. I don't know how he's related to him. I was allowed into the Justice for Matthew Chase Facebook group. Thank you, by the way. And I went through the posts, and he had been updating the group constantly about his efforts. And he reached out to so many people. And so did the other admin, Matthew Michael Pattison. It's confusing.
Yeah.
There's a Matthew and there's a Michael, and now there's a Matthew Michael.
Yeah.
But Matthew Michael Pattison, the other admin, said, quote, "We have been vetting a substantial amount of evidence from primary sources and feel that this is the closest we will possibly get to closure for Matt, while remaining anxious to notify the group. Evidence from which ATMs were used and what times for what amounts, to who was driving the VW around and picking up people in it. That idea behind our efforts initially was to find who did this to Matt, and though never convicted, we are 99% sure that this is the individual who did this to him. We will always leave our doors open to additional evidence and information about the case, and most definitely keep you all updated." And Pattison also talks about contacting Good Morning America and just reaching out to any media outlet that would listen. So although it isn't totally clear, I gleaned from the comments on the Facebook page that Meza's girlfriend may have told about Meza to the police a really long time ago. Someone asked if she had gone recently or a while ago, as the case would have been solved a lot sooner. And then Michael Wise then commented, "Well, I think should have been solved a long time ago is a more accurate phrase." Unfortunately, LAPD dragged their feet a lot with this case. I believe the dolls were instrumental in getting a lot of publicity for Matt's case back in '88. Had they not, this case would have been even more bungled, which is a horrifying thought. It's believed that David Bear Meza was a member of the East Side Playboys gang, which is what
that's
the
EP.
ESP, yep, which is what all the shit on the blue bandana stood for. Playboys 13 gang, also known by the short name PBS 13, is a violent, predominantly Hispanic street gang in West and South and East Los Angeles, California. They sometimes use the name Conejo or Rabbit Gang. They align themselves with the Mexican Mafia, which is also known as the La M, which is Spanish for the letter M. So they've been around forever. They're still around. I have like a map of LA and like where they're most active, provided by the Facebook page.
So do they think the perpetrator, what's his name again?
Meza.
Why did he kill him? Was it just a mugging?
Yeah.
That's all it was. It wasn't like a gang initiation thing or anything like that.
It wasn't a gang initiation because I think the gang killed him. So there's nothing on Meza. There's not a photo. There's no mention anywhere, which makes sense because he died in '88. He was in a gang, and he was probably originally from Central America. I saw someone comment on a message board that the Eastside Playboys gang, a lot of them had come from war-torn areas in Central America, so they were very used to high levels of violence and completely desensitized, and they kind of brought a mayhem that the LAPD had never seen before. He robbed Matt and then was murdered within 48
Right.
hours.
That
Yeah,
seems
like-
connected.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, but however, the time, all right, so this is super crazy. In 1988, there's this random LA Times article that reports on a gang sweep in the LAPD on June 10th, 1988. So 2 days after Matthew was taken.
Oh.
This is the quote. One man died Friday night after he was shot while standing on a sidewalk on South Columbia Avenue near downtown, police said. David Meza, 20, died in surgery at County USC Medical Center. The gunman and accomplices in the drive-by shooting were thought to be gang members, police said. So the LA Times reported on Meza's murder without ever knowing anything about Matthew Chase. Like, it's just like a totally like weird universe thing where, the gangs were so out of control. They were so insane at this time that he could have been killed by his own gang members. He could have been just killed in a drive-by shooting.
It could have been a totally
like, there was so
random
much,
thing.
there was so much violence at the time. If it is a coincidence, it's fucking crazy that he killed Matthew and then 48 hours was then killed himself if it
Right.
wasn't by
Or
his own gang, you know?
Not that crazy for
Yeah.
gang life at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to me personally.
Yeah.
Like it seems totally insane,
Yeah.
you know. I'm sure the clearing of Chase's case was a relief for the family and friends of Chase, but it was a long road. His father passed in 2007. His mother's 81 and still in Oregon. She's on Facebook and she's so cute. Over the years, the internet commenters have claimed that Chase was going to buy drugs. Chase was meeting a man for a sexual tryst. Teresa and Steven murdered Matt. Just like a ton of crap.
Stop.
People were convinced that the bandana was a red herring.
I was really scared that you were going at the very beginning. I was like, I'm scared because I thought you were going to say the Dahl siblings did it.
Oh, no.
I didn't think so, but I thought you were really just faking me out.
No. I mean, God, these people, it's just that people can't believe that other people are so genuine and earnest.
Yeah, apparently I can't believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So people were convinced that the bandana was a red herring. And I think, like, people watch too much TV. Like, this is Occam's razor. Like, they left a bandana behind because they owned a bandana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
They
not
were
everybody's
sloppy.
like fucking Moriarty from Sherlock.
Or maybe they weren't sloppy. Maybe they were like, bloop.
Yeah, but like
Here's our trademark.
Yeah, here's our trademark.
Yeah.
Like either
Like an
way,
idiot.
Yeah, like either way, there's no like mastermind works going on here. So I was fortunate enough to find a podcast called "Learning Not to Swear." The host Ted lied.
Should we listen?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to the episode, I didn't listen to the whole podcast.
Well,
It's a
just
joke
'cause
about
the
how much we
title.
swear.
Oh shit! Fuck! I didn't even think about that.
Shit back.
Your reaction is perfect. Okay.
Oh my god, we should listen to it. But it isn't about not swearing. So it's a little. That's not what it's about.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Right. I cursed too much. Fuck. I didn't even think about that. Okay. So, Ted Lied is the host, and he is friends with Teresa Dahl. So, on April 7th, 2016, in an episode, he interviewed her, and she talks about the Matthew Chase case.
Wow.
So, this is before last year, obviously, so it wasn't solved yet.
Okay.
But, I mean, it was 2
right.
years ago. I believe Teresa is probably in her 50s right now.
So weird. Okay.
Yeah. It was wild. I like when I found it, I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Because there was all of this. There was like a cold case episode, which, honeys, you know. But it was already solved. So all of the information would have just been wrong.
Yeah.
Or speculation.
Right.
Or, you know, like I just would have been wasting my time.
Right.
And then I found this and I was like, this is great. Dahl says that Chase was her boyfriend at the time, although throughout the interview, she refers to him as her friend.
Yeah.
There was I believe on the internet boards and sort of like, there was a question of his sexuality. I don't know what his sexual preference was and I don't care, you know, and I don't know if she is just trying to still softball that or if she just thinks it would be a distraction. But she does say that it was her boyfriend. And then throughout the rest of the episode, she does say friend. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So she talks about moving to LA with her brother and Matthew. She talks about the crack epidemic and all of the violence in LA at the time that eventually culminated with the LA riots after the Rodney King verdict.
Oh, right.
And she goes, you know, she's still a queen. She talks about like the audacity of 3 white suburban kids moving into this area of Los Angeles and thinking that they would be fine. And just like how stupid you are when you're young and how you think like,
You're invincible.
Nothing
it'll
will
work
ever happen
out.
to
Yeah. I mean, it is, she's so eloquent and like so reflective. I mean, She's amazing. But she said she knew something had happened right away. And she said she knew that the neighborhood was dangerous because she would come home from work and there would just be like a line of gang members like up against the wall of her building with their arms up in the air and police arresting them, you know? She said she went after him. She didn't find him. She went through dumpsters. She searched for him all night. She was dealing with the Rampart division of the LAPD, which was a shit show. So much of a shit show that over 70 police officers were eventually indicted for corruption. There's an entire Wikipedia page about it.
Wonderful. She
says, and she's so classy because I would talk so much shit, but she says that, to put it politely, they were not responsive. That's a quote. Another quote is, they didn't see his disappearance as their problem. They saw it as my problem. And they said, what do you expect? What do you think would happen? You made a choice to live here, and this is the price you pay. Damn. So she initially went there before the 24 hours. So she went back after the 24 hours, which the police are supposed to take a missing persons report, like for anybody of any age after 24 hours. And they still wouldn't take one.
What?
So, yeah. So then, savvy girl, she tries to report her car as stolen. Because she's like, well, if you won't look for my friend, you gotta look for my car. And
Which is so fucked up.
Oh, yeah. It gets worse. It gets worse. They said, quote, well, you don't want to do that. Then if we found him, we'd have to arrest him. And she said, I don't care because I know he didn't steal the car. And I want you to find him. So if you have to find him and he's in the car and you have to arrest him, I don't give a shit. Like, I know he didn't steal my car.
Oh, my gosh.
So she filled out the paperwork and left and came back a week later. And they had never filed the stolen vehicle report.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
And it's always like these places that
They were
need
terrible.
police the most.
Like, if you do any little bit of research about LAPD from the 40s until the 90s, I mean, it's a shit show.
Just do your job.
So she returned again and she took her brother with her because I think, she doesn't say this, but she probably thought, okay, if I have a man with me,
Maybe
if I have
they'll
a boy
listen.
with me or somebody with a penis, maybe they'll fucking listen.
Yeah.
So she spoke to another detective. He asked for a photo of Matthew, and when Teresa showed him Matthew's license, he, quote, looked at it, threw it back at me, and said, he's a faggot. She says that, she said, quote, really? How do you ascertain that? And the detective said, quote, I can tell by the way his eyebrows are arched.
Oh, my God.
The detective then goes on to mansplain Teresa, let me tell you what happened. He was gay, and he didn't want to tell you. He couldn't tell you, and he took off. That's what happened here. And she told the officer that was absolutely not the situation, but he wouldn't listen.
Oh, my gosh.
So while the LAPD is totally fucking Teresa, she has such a tremendous amount of empathy because she then goes on to say she feels like the LAPD at that time, quote, just lost their minds. With all of the hardships they faced every day, it had just eroded away their ability to serve. Wow. Like, she still has empathy for, like, the stress that the police officers were caused and why they would want to ignore. Like,
right. Like, I had that thought, too, that there's just so much shit going on.
Sure, but
you
like,
still
to
don't
call
treat
your
people
missing
like
friend
that.
a
Yeah.
faggot? Like,
You don't
I mean,
treat
it's
people
terrible.
that way.
Then, oh my God, she's such a queen. Teresa, if you ever listen to this episode.
We love you.
Oh God, we love you so much. She goes on to say that she and her brother would drive to the same bank machine every night. Her brother would lie on the floor of the car, and she had a knife in her pocket. She would use the ATM hoping that the same people who took Matt would
bait
take
them.
her, and then her brother, and she would somehow find Matt. She says they did that for a couple of months. She said that she felt terrible about it because they had decided to move there and that Matthew's parents were beside themselves and that her father was a business owner, I think he still is, and had to take time to come down to search for Matt every weekend. She says that she had hospitals calling her every time there was a John Doe admitted who couldn't remember his identity. She would go down and meet them and they were never Matt.
Oh my gosh.
But she doesn't feel awful for herself. She feels awful for the people because she said that she would go and meet them and they were looking for someone to tell them who they were and they would be so hopeful and she wouldn't be able to help them. I mean, she's a saint.
Oh, my God.
Then she describes going to the missions, like they said in the UM segment, and she eventually realized that the only option to her was the media. So she contacted City Media, a news service, which is still around, and it's a wire feed to news agencies. And they eventually agreed to send the story out on their wire service. Right away, she started getting calls from various news agencies. And because of this, the mayor at the time, Tom Bradley, pulled the case from Rampart PD. and moved it to Pasadena to a detective who actually cared. And 3 weeks later, they found his body in a ravine in an affluent area of Pasadena, and he'd been shot in the head twice. I'm assuming the detective they're talking about is Detective Lionel Salgado, featured in the segment, but he isn't a true hero because he was convicted of groping a 14-year-old girl and then tried to become an athletic director for the Mid-Valley Pop Warner football program in Kaiser, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
And
Can any of the good guys in our stories actually be good guys?
No.
yeah, I was talking about that recently, about
Jesus
how
Christ.
like we just get so bogged down because it isn't just about what happened to the victim, it's
Right.
about the mishandling of the cases. It becomes very upsetting, especially in stories like this. So Salgado's a fucking creep. Anyway, a dog found a human bone, brought it to the homeowner. I believe that's covered in the segment. And like the segment tells us, they needed dental records to make an ID. Teresa says that had the mayor not intervened, Matthew would have never been found. Rampart, super corrupt. I can't imagine like a police department being so corrupt that Wikipedia has like 7 paragraphs about you getting busted, you know? It feels like something out of like Chinatown or LA Confidential, but those movies, they took place in the 40s and it's like nothing had changed in LA for 40, 50 years. She talks about the first interview she gave and she was telling the reporter about the lack of interest by the police, and the reporter said, cut the camera, and told her, quote, they're not going to help you if you say bad things about them.
Oh my God.
And she said, well, they're not helping me anyway. And she said that she told the story the way she wanted to tell it, but the reporter edited it all out.
Oh,
And she says that she thinks the reporter did it to like protect her, but in the long run, it didn't matter anyway. She says that she remembers standing in her backyard before she knew what happened to him and asking God why. The interviewer, he's a dad, like that's part of his podcast. He's the father of a 14-year-old girl, so he's certainly coming from a dad perspective here. But he asks her why her dad didn't come down from Oregon with a gunny sack to get her. It's illegal to put a 19-year-old girl in a gunny sack, even if you're her father, by the way.
Yeah,
So
you
anybody
can't.
out there.
ew.
And yeah, he's very like, I think he's just a dad, you know? So
Yeah.
he's like, if that were my daughter, and it's a little,
course, yeah.
But my God, even this question, she handles with such grace. She says that her dad did even better than that. He came down every weekend and would walk into dangerous neighborhoods and tear the boards off of abandoned buildings looking for Matt. She and her father would go through crack houses with flyers together and hand them out. And she says now that she's a mom, she understands the urge to force your children home, but her dad let it be her decision all the way.
Wow.
Yep. And then she says that Matt was one of the most talented people she's ever met. She ended up working for CNN as a journalist in the LA office and then became a stay-at-home mom and does a ton of work with her local public school, which is what the episode was actually about because they know each other through the school.
Oh, crazy.
So that's what the second half of the podcast is about. So she's like, so this happened to me, this crazy thing. And then they go on to talk about
By the way.
how she pulled up concrete, asphalt, and built a garden in the school. So she's just like a true dream of a human being.
Oh my gosh.
So I just want to close with this last comment. There's a Visage that goes with that. All of these photos are going up on Instagram. And again, I want to thank the Facebook page Justice for Matthew Chase because they posted these photos. But this is a comment that I found that speaks to the personality of Matt and the friendship that he had with Teresa, even as kids. Lots of people around Medford knew of Matt Chase. He was in school plays and dared to have a, quote, new wave hairstyle in a very conservative area long before it was cool. His most famous incident was taking a mannequin to the prom. This was shocking behavior for the time and the area. Teresa also wasn't afraid to go against the grain, and a lot of kids who hated the town appreciated them.
Wow.
I'm looking at the picture.
And then, yeah, there is a picture of Matt and his mannequin at the prom.
It's amazing.
Oh my God, I love it.
I kind of want to, like,
He looks so cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like one of those kids that was far beyond the small town, you know?
Yeah. Trying to just be himself.
Yeah, so I do have to say that I was ready for a whole other Jenny Pratt, Curtis Croft situation where I researched for hours and hours and hours and nothing was ever solved and I wanted to bang my head against the wall.
Yeah.
And when this popped up that it had just been solved in February, it gave me, I mean, it was devastating because, he was murdered, but he was murdered so long ago that it made me so happy that we're doing this because most people wouldn't know whatever happened to him.
Yeah.
You know?
And Teresa just gives you faith in humanity.
Yeah, and Teresa is such an amazing person. So that's a story of Matthew Chase and his very best friend, Teresa Dahl.
Oh,
So nice.
Teresa, hit us up, girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
We love you.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice job.
Thanks.
But I just don't want to mess up the narrative
So we won't
for
leave it
people
at that.
listening.
So start telling it, and then we'll immediately be like, red flag. I mean, the whole thing is just like one red flag after another.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very much so.
I mean, God, it's like, it's not a red flag. It's like a red banner, or like one of those airplanes that
It's a
drags
fire.
a red flag across the sky.
A
Like
red-
a red flag
yeah,
in
it's
your butt. It's such a red flag. Like, Jesus Christ.
So my story is called The Red Flag. And no, but it's the unexplained death of Mary Lou Gerai, which definitely looks like Jerry. And I want to say Jerry every time, but it's Gerai. And in the intro, Stack, briefly describes the case as he usually does. But then he says, "You'll be able to analyze the evidence in this brutal slaying, but the details of time and place are crucial." So to me, that's just Stack being like, seriously, listen to this timeline and use your brain and decide what happened. Like,
He's like, hey.
which he doesn't usually do.
No. He's like, hey, pay attention.
Yeah, listen to this. And
Okay,
we all
we'll
know. On February 14th,
So hard for us.
Valentine's Day, 1986, at 8:15 a.m., Stephen Gerai is out and about and calls his wife Mary Lou's mother, Maria Serrato, from a payphone and asks her to go help Mary Lou prepare for a lunchtime party, which
What?
is weird for a number of reasons. Because later we find, well, in my research, I find out that the party was for Maria's birthday. It was Valentine's Day party, but also Maria's birthday was on Valentine's Day. So the party was for her.
He's like,
So
go
why
over
is
and help
Steven
set up for your party.
asking her to go set up for her own birthday party?
Yes.
Also, why is Mary Lou not just calling her and asking for help
Yeah.
if she needs help?
I don't know. So many questions.
and that reenactment, he's just like the most jovial, disgusting. Like,
smarmy.
yeah.
He's the worst.
It's very weird. He's wearing his sunglasses the whole time. He just seems like
He's
a douche.
like, hey,
right off the bat.
Maria. Like
Yeah.
the way he speaks.
He's like, great to talk to you. Oh
my God.
Yeah, he's awful.
I'm going to be so mad.
But Maria, the mom, is so cute. She has big hair, sassy earrings. She has an accent, and I just loved her right away. She says that as soon as she hangs up with Steven, she calls the house because she probably also is like, why is Steven calling me and telling me to do this?
She's like, new phone, who dis? Like, who?
Yes.
He's probably never called her before in the entire relationship.
definitely. Yeah.
Yes. So she, of course, calls the house right away, but Mary Lou doesn't answer. So she thinks this is weird because she knows that Mary Lou should be prepping for the party, so she would definitely be at home. It takes her 20 minutes to get to the house. There's no answer at the back door, which I'm assuming was like the regular way she would go in. And she says that nothing looks disturbed, but the front door isn't locked, and she thinks that's out of character for Mary Lou because Mary Lou was a very careful person and always had her door locked. The mom goes inside. She's looking everywhere for Mary Lou. At 10:06 a.m., Maria finds Mary Lou on the floor in the hallway. She looks down and thinks maybe she passed out or something. So she says she's touching her, kissing her face.
Oh my God.
And then she says that she finally realized she looked like she might be dead. So Maria says it quote, got her completely, and that she was just like a wild person.
Yeah.
And that she thought she was in a nightmare. And
Yeah,
so
her own daughter. It's what you think might happen every time.
You don't hear from someone you
yeah,
love.
yeah, it's just awful. And they don't say this till later in the segment, but she had been shot 4 times. At 10:30 a.m., paramedics tried to restart Mary Lou's heart with an injection. And she was already dead at this time. Stack also tells us that very unfortunately, this procedure made it impossible to determine the actual time of death. That's just
So the murderer got lucky.
So lucky.
and like, of course, they should have done this procedure either way to see if they could save
Yeah,
her.
it's
but
hard.
that's such an awful side effect that now we can't use that piece of information to determine who the killer was.
I wonder if it's still that way, if they use that injection and if that affects time of death stuff. 'Cause
Totally.
that
I don't
seems
know.
like a problem.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
like you said, also a necessary intervention that they have to try.
Totally. So Mary Lou had been shot 4 times with 2 different guns.
Oh.
In the episode, they say one was a 22 and one was a 38. But in my later research, they always say it's a 22 and a 25. So I don't know if that was just like a miscalculation or what. There were no signs of a gun in the house, no signs of a break-in. Her jewelry box was open. Jewelry was laid out as if she was like getting ready for the day, like, you know, a few things laid out on her bureau or whatever. The mom says that she doesn't think the killers came in to steal anything. But cut to dead-eyed husband, Stephen, who totally disagrees, saying many things were taken from the house, totaling up to, quote, $25,000 to $30,000, maybe $40,000 worth of jewelry, fur coats, and other valuables.
Get the fuck out of here. That would be someplace other than in Steven's mouth if that had actually happened.
Yes. So he's just super matter-of-fact in saying this. He even refers to it as the gross value.
Oh my God, he's such a fucking asshole.
Yeah. If you're actually mourning your wife. Sorry.
Exactly.
Why are you counting up all that stuff?
Yes. So I said it seems a really weird thing to focus on when your wife just got murdered.
And that's the first thing we see him saying, isn't
Yes.
it?
Mm-hmm. The mother, however, says there were a lot of valuables in the house and nothing was disturbed. So I don't know. I really could not find in my fucking research what actually happened, if things were stolen or not. I don't know why they have such differing stories, but Maria is convinced it was a planned murder.
Can we speak really quick to whoever edited this segment and the shade that they were throwing? So usually when someone is giving a talking head, they are given a little bit to tell their story.
Yeah.
But whoever was editing this clearly had an opinion.
Oh, yes.
So they edited Stephen and Maria. He would make a statement. She would make a statement saying the total opposite.
Yes.
He would make a statement. She would make a statement. And clearly someone had an agenda.
Yeah, they were quick cuts to show that like drastic contrast between the stories they were telling. And that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Which was similar to the Roberts story last week. I thought his sister-in-law was like, he definitely could have done this. And then someone
they're
would be
getting
like,
Definitely the same editor.
Yeah, they're getting a little sassy.
I love that
Yes,
editor,
good
whoever
note.
it is.
Yeah.
So Mary Lou and Stephen had been married for 7 years. He was an insurance agent and she worked for him. I don't know exactly in what capacity. They went on vacation in Hawaii, so they showed pictures of that, of them just blissfully in paradise.
She's so gorgeous.
She's very pretty. And it says they appeared to be happily living the good life. Stephen says, it was very exciting and the most fulfilling relationship I have ever had with an individual. So again, he's like totally deadpan. He has very odd word choice and sentence structure.
It sounds like it was just written, scripted, and he rehearsed it.
Truly.
Yeah. Like most people would be like, I was madly in love with my
Yeah.
wife. You know, you wouldn't
Well,
say, oh,
yeah.
the best relationship I ever had with an individual. Like
An
it's just-
individual that's your wife that was murdered brutally in your home.
It's such an odd
You're
way
going to
to
refer
say
to her
it.
as an individual?
And you wouldn't compare them to someone else. Like, if my partner
Yes.
died, I wouldn't be like, that was my favorite relationship.
That was my best husband.
You know what? I liked you most of all the men.
That's the one thing I'm going to say about
Yeah.
you.
Oh my God.
I have a feeling that he obviously had a lawyer, and the lawyer wrote out what he
It
had to say, and
seems
he
like
just
that.
read it because it sounds so formal.
That's true. I
really
didn't think
true.
about
Sounds
maybe
like
that.
legalese to me,
Yeah.
honey. The individual. Yeah.
So, and then again, cut to Maria real quick. Once again, telling a completely opposite
Yeah.
story.
So good.
She says, quote, it was a torment of a marriage. She says Mary Lou was constantly crying about something that was happening between them and that they were always battling about money.
And like, who has the motivation to lie here? I mean,
Exactly.
not Maria's mother.
Yeah.
This woman who turned into a quote wild animal when her daughter, she found her daughter dead. Like, who's lying? If you had to choose,
Right.
Who's cooking something up? You know.
So then cut again to Stephen rambling on with more like saccharine sweet reasons that their marriage was perfect. And it just sounds super forced, like you said, just fed to him.
Yeah.
The police have a ballistics expert inspect Stephen's guns, and he proves that none of his guns were used in the shooting. He also provides a lengthy list of his movements that day.
It is so lengthy.
So lengthy. He normally worked from home and would be at home in the morning. But for some very weird reason, ladies, he was not home that morning.
Of course he wasn't.
Starting at what time now?
He woke up at 5.
Oh, weird.
He had a super busy day.
Did he?
He had some things that he had to finish up. So he says that he left Mary Lou sleeping in the house between 6:25 and 6:30, and he knew that the alarm system was set on the house. He went to 7-Eleven for coffee. Then he went to the post office. Then he went to a donut shop and got donuts.
Then he had a parade down Main Street like, hey, here I am.
Pretty much.
Waving signs.
Then he went to Precision Glass, Don Richardson's company. He says as if we know who Don Richardson is.
What
but
up, Don?
obviously he knows who Don Richardson is. Steven says he talked to Don for a while, so hello, alibi friend. Then he went to leave, but realized he forgot to call Mary. He went
Don's
back-
like, new phone, who dis?
That's just the name of the episode. He went back into the desk and called her at 7:30. She was up and said she was busy, busy, busy. So he told her goodbye. I just rolled my eyes really big in case you couldn't hear that through my voice. So basically between the time he called her and for sure talked to her and the time she was found dead, Steven had a list of people who he'd seen and could provide alibi for him not being at home.
That's super lucky for him that it worked out that way organically.
And I actually didn't catch this in the reenactment, but commenters in things I read later were like, he grabbed receipts at every one of these
Yeah.
locations.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I think they said that.
So Mary Lou's parents hire a PI named Bill Elliott. They tell Bill about Steven's alibis. Bill is informed right away that Steven was not exhibiting his normal habits or patterns that day. He didn't normally leave the house before 9 or 10 in the morning. Oh, so he didn't leave at 6 a.m. to pick up his mail in person at the post office and go to get coffee and donuts in 2 separate locations and stop to talk to his glass store buddy every morning? That seemed normal to me.
To literally run all the errands.
At 5 a.m.
At 5 a.m. So Elliot interviews the people who work at the 7-Eleven, and they are positive Steven didn't come in until 3 minutes before 7 a.m. And that's very specific, so I think they were pretty sure.
They're like, no, who could forget him?
Right? The 7-Eleven was only 2 blocks away, so if he says he left between 6 and 6:30, the drive would have been about 5 minutes. Elliot says this is obviously a variation in the alibi that would have provided him time to, quote, do things as far as getting rid of evidence. So he says it's curious that Jirai not only went to these locations, he went there the following day to remind people he'd been there the day before.
Oh my God. Why? How is this an unsolved murder?
It's insane.
No.
This is just textbook. Oh.
This is one time I wish our podcast people could see our faces
Yeah.
because
Oh my God.
the shaking. I'm sitting here with my mouth covered and just shaking my head. It's so annoying. I was so annoyed when I watched it, and I'm annoyed again. It's so annoying.
I feel like Dave Davis would be annoyed that he's in the same category as this guy. Like,
Seriously, you're
At
giving a
least-
bad name to the other
Yeah.
HDIs.
no, yeah, HDIs
We
or
hate-
THDIs.
THDIs. WTF, not suspicious at all. And not at all a weird way to spend your time the day after your wife is killed in your own home.
And you're
I didn't
supposed to be, again, mourning.
I
this
didn't
is
think
totally a
about
normal way
that.
to grieve.
I didn't even think about
Like,
that.
if you know you didn't do it, you would not spend the time going to tell everyone, hey, remember when the police come and ask you, I was here.
You remember me?
You would be like, I didn't do it. They're going to be able to prove I didn't do it. I'm
Right.
just going to sit here and mourn like I'm supposed to because I actually didn't do it.
He's
Yes.
so bad at this that he's so bad at this.
He's
It's
so
so
bad at it
excessive.
and not even enough of a whatever we would call him socio or psychopath if he is one, not
he's
even
just-
enough, not even smart enough or enough of one to realize how normal people would do it. Like he can't
Yes.
even fake how
Yes.
a normal person
yeah,
would
so
do
what
it.
kind
Totally.
of psychological shit is
What
that?
is that?
Yeah,
Where you
he's
can't-
not even aware enough to be like, I need to pretend to grieve.
Yeah,
He's
like
not even pretending.
he can't ape
that's
normal
a really
human
good point.
behavior. So like, what is wrong with him? He's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. So the insurance investigator, Dan Key of Key Claims Service, says the time of death is questionable because of the procedures the EMTs used on Mary Lou. He says because of this, Stephen's alibi may be good and may not.
Okay.
2 years earlier, Stephen had purchased life insurance policies on both himself and Mary Lou, each policy totaling $435,000.
It's a lot of money.
And it's very funny to me now, knowing that he works in the insurance business.
I mean, it's funny, but you think he would be better at murdering his wife.
Yeah.
Like, how many times
Well-
has he had to investigate a claim where he was like, oh, the husband did it?
Right.
Maybe he got ideas.
Yeah, true.
Elliot says that Stephen Gerai liked to spend money and live the high life. He would basically live outside of his means, which explains why Mary Lou's mom said they were always arguing about money. Dan Key says in Harris County, there were over $120,000 of hard cash judgments he had against him. So he was super in debt as well as just spending money outside of his means. After the murder, Stephen filed to collect on the $435,000. Mary Lou's parents were like, oh, fuck no. So they went to court to claim that he could not have the money because he was the cause of Mary Lou's death.
Oh, can you imagine?
I just want to say that one of my favorite lines ever in the history of Unsolved Mysteries is coming up. I'm sure that you're going to say it.
Oh, I think I am.
Oh, I think you are, honey.
But Michael Serrato was Mary Lou's dad, says they believed that him putting the policy under his name meant that he was guilty. Stephen, gross Stephen, says, well, there's two things that make the world go round, and that's sex and money. And it definitely wasn't sex, was it?
That's it. That's my
What
favorite
does
quote.
that even mean? And what are you even trying to say with that?
This person is going on TV and he is so ridiculous, so whatever is wrong with his brain, like Eliza was saying, that he thinks that he can say all
Say
of this
that.
to the entire nation of people that are watching, and we're all going to be like, that seems like reasonable behavior.
Yeah, what?
Can
Who
you
says
say it
that?
again? Can you say it again?
Say it again,
Well,
honey.
there's two things that make the world go round, and that's sex and money. And it definitely wasn't sex, was it?
So basically, he's like, I did it for the money. Like, why
No,
else would he
he's-
need to say that?
Yeah, well, he's saying that the parents contested her life insurance policy because there are only two things that make the world go round,
Which is
sex
just
and
such
money.
a sick thing to say.
But like, he is implicating himself by saying that because actually he wants
Yes,
the money.
absolutely.
Like, he can't.
It's not a good look.
He's like, and I didn't want to have sex with her anymore, so I fucking killed her. Like,
God.
oh my god,
Oh,
my God.
He's a monster.
you can say monster. It's not a curse word.
So, as the trial is beginning, an out-of-court settlement was reached by Stephen and the Serratos. Stack asks who had requested the settlement. Stephen claims the Serratos had made an offer to settle. The Serratos are like, what reason would we ever have to do that? Stephen says when his attorney presented this, he was adamant that it would not be an admission of guilt and that the Serratos would realize he was not involved.
Oh my god.
He says he would never take a settlement if it was his daughter, but the Serratos did, so why would they if they thought he was involved?
Yikes.
He's a
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
he's such a.
I do find it a little weird they settled out of court, and I don't know what reasons they may
I
have
think
had
maybe
for
because
that.
he had a lot of money and he probably had a lot of friends that were lawyers working in insurance, and the Serratos probably
Well,
didn't.
I think the Serratos knew there wasn't a lot of
like what?
evidence.
Yeah, like, they were like, okay, if this is the only thing that we can get.
Yeah.
But I agree. I don't know if that was the smartest decision for
I
them
know. It's
because
kinda
that's
weird.
the one hitch.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the
he's
one
not
hitch.
wrong in saying, well, now I have this thing. They settled. They wouldn't settle if they really
Yeah.
believed
If it was
me.
my daughter, like,
I know.
oh God, help his daughter.
It's weird. So, and I'm curious to know what the settlement was, but I can't find anything on it. Stack tells us that court documents can't reveal who asked for the settlement because
yeah.
Judge Sklar ordered the records to be sealed for 2 years.
Oh.
And I tried so hard, but I couldn't find anything on those. After Mary Lou is buried, the headstone of her grave is smeared with mud and vandalized
Right.
and then stolen.
Yes.
Hell.
Who? What? It's not enough. Like,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
enough.
To me, because I truly can't believe, which is crazy, but I can't believe anyone is that crazy to not only kill her and then vandalize her headstone. I was like, this is a random act. That's horrible.
No.
But it was probably him.
Well, because I
I mean, who knows? But
It's hard to say.
it's not hard to say.
can you go far enough? God.
I don't think so because he was mad that he had to give the Serratos money.
Yeah.
And he couldn't take it out on Mary Lou, so he took it out on her headstone.
Well,
and guess who had to
then
pay to
exactly.
replace it?
Then he's costing them money.
Yeah. So then after this happens, the headstone is replaced, and then the parents choose for it to say Mary Lou Serrato. And I don't blame
Yes,
them.
they do.
Yes, preach, please.
Yeah. Her mom says it's hard to go on living knowing someone who killed her is out there and not being punished.
Ugh.
Stephen says, "No, I did not kill my wife. Mary Lou was the perfect woman for me.
I did not kill my wife.
I did not kill my wife. Mary Lou was the perfect woman for me. We had a wonderful life together. It was exciting. We traveled. We built one hell of a business and a fantastic compliment for each other." And I want you to remember that line.
Oh.
Stack says the police continue to search for info on the 2 guns, but there's no update. I thought for sure there would be an update on this one.
Ooh.
I know.
Yeah, so that's the end of the segment. Okay. Over the years, leads have been chased and suspects have been considered, but with no witnesses and no physical evidence, the trail has always gone cold.
Oh my God.
This past February, on the exact 32-year anniversary of Mary Lou's death, the case of Mary Lou Girai was reopened. The Fort Bend County's Sheriff Office announced in February of 2018 that it was offering up $20,000 for new information about Mary Lou's murder. Investigators have also submitted new physical evidence that they're hoping with the use of modern forensic technology, they can make some headway in the case. So I don't know what that is. I couldn't find it anywhere, but they have something.
It's pretty, yeah, it's new.
And it hasn't even been a year yet since they reopened it. So, God, I hope they're working on it right now.
Oh, man.
So it's a very challenging case to take on. Quote, "It's a total mystery, a real whodunit," said Scott Minyard, a homicide detective who's working on the case.
It's not.
"We don't want to let these things go completely away," he said. "With something like this, the solvability factor, I don't know how high it is, but it's certainly worth pursuing and looking at again."
What?
So homicides by gun are more difficult to solve because of the lack of physical evidence.
Yeah, trace evidence. Yeah.
And 60% of homicide cases are solved within 243 days of the crime.
Ooh, I like that stat.
So
Nice
obviously, Mary Lou's case has gone on much longer than that, by like over 1,000 days.
Okay. But we all know that the husband did it.
Yeah,
but now we know
like
as
all
a society and a culture.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy that he would say in today's day, it's a real whodunit.
He did not have to say that.
I get if there's
That was a weird quote.
I get if there's no physical evidence and it's just, oh, I have a chance to redeem myself. Circumstantial evidence.
Nice work.
I get that. Like, you can't charge him, but you
Right.
don't say we have literally no idea who it could
know.
possibly ever be.
I know, it's kind of
Unless he's trying to like get him to put his defenses down, but that guy is not gonna do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I hope he'd be smart enough to go that route instead of just being like, the husbands never do it, so who could it be?
Yeah, it's like you didn't need to say that sentence.
Yeah, true.
You could have left that out.
Stephen Girai initially offered and then rescinded a $50,000 reward for information about his
just like-
wife's death.
OJ.
So that was supposedly a few months before the lawsuit by Mary Lou's parents.
He said, never mind.
He was like, oh, now I have to pay her parents, so I don't care.
Yeah. So Fort Bend County is still working on this, and you can call Fort Bend County Crime Stoppers at 281-342-TIPS tips
To tell him
if
the
you
husband
have
did.
information.
How about we all, listeners,
No, we can't.
how about we all call him? We just say, the husband did it.
We just say THDI.
So last February, on the 32nd anniversary of Mary Lou's death, they actually held a press conference at the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department. And I have a quote from her brother. "Every Valentine's Day rolls by, and it's my mother's birthday, and we can't celebrate it." Luis Serrato is Luis, I think. It was spelled different ways in 2 different articles I read. "Because of all the new DNA and technology available to us now, we are sending a lot of our information and evidence back to the crime lab to have it examined for a second or third time," Fort Bend County Sheriff Troy Nels told reporters. "We are examining all of our cold cases, but this one is near to my heart because I have a family, and when Mary Lou's mother, Maria Serrato, came to my office and showed me her picture, that image has haunted me since then." Mary Lou's brother Luis says again, my sister knew who killed her. My sister would never have opened the door for someone she didn't know, and I don't believe for 1 minute my sister was taken by someone at the front door."
Nope.
Yep.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like us. Like, that would be like if something happened to one of us, my door is always locked, and I don't open it for anybody.
Yeah.
So it would either be forced entry or someone I knew.
Yep.
And they would be able to prove forced entry.
Yep. It's very
And
cut
for
and dry.
her to be like that in the 80s, like, it's sad that she lived in that amount. She lived in the amount of fear that we live in now just because we know. And in the 80s, you didn't really lock your door. And yet she still had the wherewithal to be like, no, this is something I'm going to do.
Totally.
And still something happened to her, probably by someone she knew.
Yeah. So the brother goes on to say that even with the $80,000 reward posted back in the 80s, no one has ever called in with tips on the case.
There are no tips. Like, the only person that can provide tips is Steve, and he's not gonna, like, let go of the fucking tip line and the reward. Like, find another way to fucking convict this guy.
How
Like,
could you do it, though? Like, how could
I have
they-
no idea, and I think that's what the issue is. That's what happens so many times in these cases. The police literally say, like, I work with a prosecutor, and if the prosecutor doesn't have what they want, they won't take the case. The end. And a prosecutor is not going to spend the time and money of taxpayers unless they have, like, a conviction.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it.
But I can't believe how lucky he got on this injection thing because he
I know.
worked so hard to prove his timeline.
know.
But if they had been able to prove her time of death was like 5 a.m. or 4:30
Christ.
or
And they
any-
would have been
or
able
earlier,
to.
They would have been able to.
Yeah.
So how did he, like, he thought it all through and yet it gets botched, and if he still thought it all through, but he would have been caught most likely.
Well, okay. Maybe not, though.
Okay.
So I found a few things about Stephen. He weirdly has a .com, a .net, and a .org,
Oh, you know why?
and they're all more or less the same website.
He bought them so that people wouldn't buy them and then
talk
build a
about
page
him.
talking about how he killed his
Oh,
wife.
that makes sense.
Because that's what I would fucking do if he was my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He's not he's totally inhuman, but he's not a dummy. That's
Yeah.
why he did that.
Wow.
So he still works in the insurance business. He has this whole entire time.
Never lost business, never lost. He's
Yeah.
just living his life.
His site is so, like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like self-praising. Like,
Oh,
so
God.
he's got like his business site, which his business is called Debs, which is the stupidest name. Diversified Employee Benefit Services. So it's like insurance for employers. So, and his new wife works for him.
Oh, no.
He's had multiple like different layers of this company that have evolved over the years. But she's worked with him for a while, it seems like. Do you guys want to see a picture of them?
Very much so.
This is him and his wife.
Oh, God.
She's just
Oh,
under
she's
10
a
years younger
babe.
than him. I know,
She
she's
looks-
like really pretty.
Yeah, she's really pretty because he's really rich.
Yeah.
Like, what's his net worth?
Oh
I don't know.
my gosh.
Pretty girls don't have sex with men that look like that unless they have a lot of money.
Yeah. So here's just a little snippet from one of his pages on his sites. Stephen Jurai, A Life of Service.
Oh, God.
Stephen has spent his life working with people who have experienced great suffering and those who are less fortunate. Through ACTS, Missions of San Antonio, Stephen works to guide the lonely and downtrodden back to the path of a meaningful life and the salvation of Jesus Christ.
No! It's like fucking Son of Sam again.
It always comes back to Jesus Christ, honey.
There's all these different things, and then you can visit Stephen's philanthropy site to learn more about his history of service and the causes that are close to his heart. He works, I will say, with at least a dozen charities, if not more than that.
Okay, so now we're going to have to go back and caveat say, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. But I'm going to say allegedly, if you allegedly murdered your wife, maybe you would allegedly donate the rest of your time to charity because you
Yeah.
got away with it. Allegedly,
I
allegedly.
hope you would, yeah.
So Stephen had his first experience with ACTS when he visited the Church of St. Francis of Assisi in 1993, so not very long after the incident. A lifelong Catholic, it was there that he felt the strongest presence of the Holy Spirit he had ever experienced. After that, Stephen became more involved with the church, growing spiritually alongside the congregation.
You guys are the worst.
And then it just goes on to list all these wonderful things that he does and that, he spends his life doing.
Does he list murdering his wife?
No, weirdly enough.
Oh, weird.
Stephen Jurai, A Family Life. Stephen Jurai is very proud of his family. He is the husband to a wonderful woman named Karen and the father of his daughter Ginger and his
He puts
grandfather.
all of this personal information on the internet?
Oh yeah. But listen, Stephen and Karen are an amazing complement to one another.
No.
They each share different passions that help fuel the same goal.
That's what he said in UM.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, this
So,
is disgusting.
He has literally just replaced
you
her.
guys.
Yeah.
This is like a Lifetime movie. Don't they actually have a Lifetime movie about this?
Yeah.
He literally said the same thing.
Yeah, he got like a new Stepford wife.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
there's all these things about Stephen.
Oh my
and
God.
his grandchildren and how he just loves to go fishing with them. And
Is
blah, blah,
this
blah.
on his? Sorry, is this on his business website? Like,
It's
why
all
does he need to
intermingled.
have a
But yes,
website that
this one
talks
is
about
from
him?
like technically his business site. It's like a part of his business site.
Like, he clearly is. If we looked up 10 other random insurance agent, lifelong, been doing it for 45 years websites,
Yeah.
they would have no personal information on there.
They would not have
Especially
the
not
name of their
this.
daughter.
yeah, it's really weird.
And they would
so-
they would not act like they weren't on Unsolved Mysteries making the same statement about their previous wife who was mysteriously shot and killed in the home on a day that he had a lot of errands to run.
Yeah. And I thought maybe when it said like he's working with people who have been through tragedy, it would make some reference to like Stephen having experienced his own tragedy
And it
or something,
doesn't,
but it
which,
does not.
Why would he?
Because he
That
wants to
wasn't a
pretend it
tragedy.
didn't happen.
Also, that wasn't a tragedy for him.
I found Stephen's Facebook pages. Stephen's page is very seldom used, but a comment on one of his pictures of him and his family, the comment says, they know he's so proud of his grandchildren. He responds, love them. I would stand in front of a speeding bullet for any of them.
Is he just trolling?
Which is such a weird comment.
Is he just... Is
You
he
can be
trolling?
like, yes, so proud of them, love them.
Yes, like as two people who have children, would our parents ever say, I would stand in front of a bullet for that kid? No.
No.
It's
Never.
a very weird
That's
choice.
such a strange, specific thing to say.
Most commenters think that Stephen was not the one who shot her, but rather that he hired a hitman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that seems the most
And I
likely
think
to
that's
me.
why it isn't that crazy that he defaced her grave. Because he didn't actually murder her.
But then he got to have a little bit of personal.
vendetta.
Yeah.
Some people think it could have been Stephen. Some think it was Mary Lou's family because the headstone said Jirai.
No.
But I don't think so.
No way.
I don't
No.
know.
You look at
I
those-
also think it could have been random.
You look at
It
those
could have been,
parents.
yeah. But yeah, those parents don't have time for that bullshit.
No.
They're dealing with.
They're a mess.
Yeah. There was one comment I found on sitcomsonline.com that I had to mention from Stephen Jirai Jr. I'm trying to find this episode if anyone can help me.
I can help you.
Stephen is my father, more like sperm donor, that I haven't seen since I was 4 years old. I have been passed up on several good employment opportunities due to all this stuff coming up when my name is Googled.
Oh,
Any help at all would be
son.
most
Same
appreciated.
first
Thank you, Stephen G.
name.
Jirai Jr.
Oh, honey, contact us. We'll get you that episode,
Yeah,
baby.
so I don't know if that's real. I couldn't
it's
find...
real. There's no way that somebody would fucking do that. I mean, the internet is bored, but they're not that bored. It's
Right.
so specific.
Yeah.
So wait, yeah. So we don't know who that mother is.
No, because it wasn't Mary Lou. So Steven,
I think it could have even been before.
It was
Right.
before. Mary Lou was not his first wife, honeys. Come on now.
I don't think so either.
No.
And he got the same name. Oh my god, that
Isn't
sucks
that awful?
so bad.
Yeah.
That's
and
awful.
Especially when you never even knew him for a second of your
Yeah,
life.
like when he's your sperm donor and you're stuck with his name for the rest of your life.
That is awful.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and Stephen had no criminal record. There was like one traffic violation at
You
one
don't need
point,
a criminal
and that's it.
record. You're not running around murdering people.
Yeah.
You're not like, that's your whole thing. You're just a normal guy,
Yeah.
you know? Okay.
Well, this turned out almost exactly like I thought it would.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it was so obvious.
That's how it
Eventually,
always
he
is.
would have been.
Me too, honey. I
I
thought there would have been a
know.
update.
Me
saying that
too.
he did it.
Well,
too.
when there wasn't one, then I was like, this is not good.
Uh-oh.
Nice
Wow.
job.
That's
Nice
it.
job, man. That's infuriating.
THDI.
Mary
Hashtag
Lou.
THDI.
Her name's Mary Lou, right?
Yes.
Poor
Mary
Mary
Lou.
Lou.
Serato.
So awful.
Yeah, Serato all the way. Jeez, nice work, KB. That sucks.
Fucking asshole.
I'm assuming this is gonna have a happy ending too, right?
Don't they all?
Okay.
Oh, it's so weird that I'm the one that had the solve. I feel like I haven't had a solve in a really long
No,
time.
you've been dealing
Yeah.
with some, hard ones. So this is my second Lost Love segment of this episode.
Says a not resentful Eliza.
No, I'm not resentful.
She likes it.
I like it. It's great. It's fine. It's better than fraud.
Yes.
That's true.
God.
Anything's better than
Fraud is just the same story over and over again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
An old white guy.
I want a good fraud story of a con woman. I'm looking for a con woman.
Ooh, honey. One is coming.
Is there one
Is
coming?
it?
Sweet.
Good.
Fuck yeah.
I
And
want
she
it.
is a queen.
I want her.
Yeah, you can have her. I'll go through.
You can have her.
Give her to me.
I mean, I feel like it's justice for you.
Yeah.
Like the
Right?
amount of times you have to cover old white guys that are ripping people off. Like,
Let's talk about a lady stealing shit. Okay, so this is the lost love story of Delores Valadez. Delores Valadez thinks she's not sure. She thinks she's around 41 years old when she comes on Unsolved Mysteries looking for answers. Dolores grew up in San Bernardino, California, in the home of a woman named Maria Valadez. Maria told Dolores that she was left on her doorstep as a baby in a suitcase along with a black kitten.
Such a
So specific. Where's the black cat?
well, it's
Why
like a
the black
Disney
kitten,
movie or something.
Yes, why the black kitten wouldn't just stay in the suitcase and not run away? Have you ever seen a cat?
I like the way you think.
Have you ever seen a cat?
It's also just clearly fiction.
Yes. Well, that's what I mean. Yes, totally.
But mostly because the cat would run away.
Well, that's the only thing that proves it wrong.
the rest of it's totally legit.
Yes. This story haunted Dolores all of her life. She would ask Maria constantly, like, tell me the truth about where I came from, basically saying, I don't believe you. And Maria would reply in silence, which they have in a reenactment. It's very creepy. As a result of her undocumented past, she has encountered several hardships. She can't get a passport. She's not allowed to receive money left for her in her stepfather's will. And her daughter could not qualify for Mexican-American college scholarships because they couldn't prove her heritage.
Right.
It just causes, like, emotional trauma. And then all this logistic trauma.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah.
So a little bit about Maria, who was her foster mother. Maria was a midwife and a curandera, which is a natural healer similar to a shaman or witch doctor. She was respected in the Hispanic community that they lived in, but also very feared, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Maria has been dead a long time. She died when Dolores was in 4th grade, but Dolores still suspects that people fear Maria beyond the grave and won't tell the truth because they're afraid Maria will do something to them.
Crazy.
Yeah. So Maria claimed that she could never have children. Remember that. And so she legally adopted 2 kids, a boy named Mingo and a girl named Vicky. She never legally adopted Dolores, which is just another factor that led to Dolores never feeling wanted or loved as she grew up.
The story is so
course.
fucking heartbreaking.
It's so sad. And, like, why wouldn't she adopt? Why not just adopt her?
Right.
There must be a reason. So, like I said, Maria died when Dolores was in 4th grade. Because she was not legally adopted by Maria, Dolores was forced to drift around to different foster homes, while, like, Vicky and Mingo got to stay and be cared for by Maria's family. And it's unclear, like it said, she was unable to claim her stepfather's money. It's unclear if she eventually got adopted and had a stepfather or something.
Okay.
I couldn't find information about that, but it wasn't money from
Anybody,
Maria's
Maria.
husband
Yeah.
or whatever. So despite her very difficult upbringing, she's a true queen. She made an amazing life for herself, finished high school, trained to be a flight attendant.
Yeah.
We will post her glamour shot that they all took in the 60s, which is, I want one.
Oh my God.
Where they make your skin look all the same tone and you
Airbrushed.
don't. Yes. Oh, those
but
airbrushed.
like with an actual airbrush. honey.
Yes.
Like
She's, I mean, without the airbrushing too, she's just beautiful, and it's amazing that she could come out of such turmoil.
she's a lot like we already mentioned it, but John Nellis, just like the positivity, like
Yes.
the,
Yeah.
the abject like insanity that they deal with, and then just the capability and
Yes.
the positive energy that they bring forth. Where most of us would be
Totally.
like, I quit.
I quit.
I give up.
Yes, I know. I think about that in a lot of these cases. Like me, as someone who didn't have like a super easy upbringing, but it was fine, much better than a lot of these people. And yet I'm still like medicated for anxiety. Like I can't deal with a lot of this stuff. And it's amazing. And what is happening like with today that like we're having to medicate more and all of that.
A good friend of mine.
Not that I would ever not be on medication, but
we were talking about that. My friend and I were saying like every single woman we know is on some sort of medication. Like it's not us. It can't be an entire generation. There's something going on, you know? Yeah. And if it's like a level of satisfaction that you don't get to achieve because we don't have actual struggle, like there is nothing preventing us from eating or taking care of our families, or so all of that energy goes into internal anxiety and creating problems that don't maybe really exist.
It really does seem like something biological, or we're in a weird time in our evolution or something.
I agree completely. Yeah.
So, again, get medicated if you need it. I'm not downing that at all.
No.
But it's just amazing that these people can get through all this stuff with such resilience. So she got married and had a daughter named Erica in 1970. And after her daughter was born, that was a time where she was like, okay, I really need to start looking for answers. And if I can find anything, I want to be able to like pass along a heritage to her and just get information. She starts her search, and they show this, and I think these are reenactments, but it looks like her really looking for all these documents. She starts her search at Public Records Office in San Bernardino. They are not able to find anything about her birth or where she could be, like any different names or anything like that. Nothing's found. So the reenactment's really sad because they're looking through the, what is that called when you're...
File cabinet?
No, like on the screen. Oh, what is it called? You look at it in the microfiche.
Oh, microfiche for a newspaper?
Yeah, and they're just like going through the microfiche really fast, and like she's not found. It's dark. It's dark when Stack says there was no evidence of her birth.
Of her existence. Like imagine not knowing anything about your life. It's crazy.
But being from a Mexican family and being Catholic, she thought, well, maybe there will be a record of my baptism, which was super smart, and I hadn't thought of that.
Me either. Clearly.
So
I'm like, me either.
From all the times I was baptized.
Yeah, and gone to church. I'm totally the godmother of like 7 kids.
So she was able to find, and it's just so sad in the reenactment too, she is able to find a baptism record at San Salvador Catholic Church in Colton, California. And it has the name Maria Valadez, which would be like the woman who brought her to be baptized. And then it lists the name of 2 godparents, which they often listed in baptism records. And the godparents are Rodolfo Minjares and Rufina Rodriguez. And they're names that she does not recognize. Like, she didn't know those people. But in the reenactment, she's very excited. And it's her, obviously, acting her reenactment. But you can tell she's, like, hearkening back to how she really felt when she found this, like, clue about herself, which she's been searching for forever.
Yeah.
It's hard to even imagine. Like, we can't even really connect because... so few people. It's not like even we have a friend in this position who doesn't know anything about themselves. So it's really hard to
usually even if you're adopted, you know something.
Yeah. She has that new clue. So then Delores remembers being told that she was hospitalized for diphtheria when she was an infant.
Talk about like another investigative, like someone on top of it.
Yeah.
You know, like the Dawes siblings, like just like so ahead of their time and being like, okay, I'm going to be really proactive.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this. I'm also going to try this.
This is all stuff you have to go and like do in person.
There's no emailing. There's no,
they're
it's
actually
crazy.
looking in regular paper files.
Yeah, it's wild.
Okay, so she's able to find records from when she was in the hospital with diphtheria. The record is dated April 2nd, 1952, and the record is confusing because it claims that Maria, who's supposed to be her like foster mother, is actually her aunt. And the woman listed as her mother is someone named Esther Valadez. And Esther Valadez is listed as deceased. It didn't say clearly, like, if... I don't think Esther Valadez was deceased at the time that she was hospitalized, but, like, later when they looked for her, she's listed as deceased. However, no death certificate can be found in the San Bernardino Hall of Records when she looks for one.
And we don't know when like, we know the date of her birth from the baptism, but we don't know the date that she was baptized. And we don't know when she went into the hospital for diphtheria, like when this story may have changed.
Yeah.
Well, and on the medical record, her birthday was listed as a different date than what she knew to be her birthday.
Yes. So on
This is crazy.
On the medical record, her birth date was listed as September 17th, 1947.
Wow. It's like trying to solve you're the thing you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like every time she finds something new, it's frustrating for her because it's new information, but then it doesn't quite match up with what
Yeah.
she always knew. So she doesn't know what to take as truth. And it's so frustrating even to be not her. So I can't imagine how frustrating it is for her.
Yeah, it's like one step forward, two steps back.
Yes.
You know?
But she has to go with like any little thing that she can find and take that as a lead. One of the theories, and this is one that I think is probable, and I'll get to it later too in a Reddit thing, but this Esther may be either an alias for a relative of Maria's who gave the baby to Maria to raise because of, like we said, maybe an unwed mother situation or something like that. And a woman, a white lady, comes on Unsolved Mysteries and who works at the hospital, and she's basically like, it was not unheard of in large Mexican families with all the siblings for someone to just give a baby away that they didn't really need to someone else who
like,
couldn't have babies. It's
You
just,
know those Mexicans, they just love to toss babies around.
it's just so
It's so
it
condescending.
would not. It's not going to happen on the reboot of Unsolved Mysteries. They won't be doing things like
No,
that.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope that they do
So
not do
it's
that.
just problematic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very condescending in tone.
Yeah. But she made it sound like, you know, if that's something that happened, a baby would be given to another family member, but then never spoken of again and can be very secretive. So that's kind of why she thought that might be Dolores's case.
You think?
There was also a family rumor that claimed that Maria had kept one of the babies that she delivered as a midwife. So according to the rumor, it was a longtime family friend. She lived in the Valadez home around the time Delores was believed to have been born. And possibly Maria actually delivered the baby, who might be Delores. Delores decided to talk to her, believing that she was her birth mother, but she denied everything and seemed very like, I don't want to talk about this.
Did they show that in the reenactment?
They did, and they showed also this woman's like real daughters or daughter.
Yeah.
And Delores is like, I look like them.
I look
Yeah.
just like the girl
said
in the
she could be
picture
her
frame.
twin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super crazy because we, you know, the first couple of episodes, we talked about what the parents would have to go through to reenact the loss of their child. And like,
She's
Delores is reenacting the search for herself.
herself. Yeah, that's true. She's being filmed in all these different places doing all these
reliving
things.
all of these heartbreaking moments
Yeah.
just to try to get some kind of closure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're getting to the end of the segment. There's basically three main theories at the end of the segment. Either Esther's her mother, whoever that is, the woman who was listed on the hospital papers. Maybe Rufina, who was listed as her godmother, is her actual mother. Or it's the unnamed family friend. That's what Unsolved Mysteries presents. So she felt that her last hope was her foster brother, Mingo.
Yeah.
We had seen her foster sister. They can't call them like actual sister or brother because she was never adopted into the family. But Vicky is also on here, and you can tell she's angry.
Yeah,
she's like, give this woman some answers.
Yeah.
But she's also angry, like, it must be weird for her because Maria did adopt her and not adopt Delores. She's in a weird position.
The whole
Maria seemed scary.
all of it's crazy.
It's all crazy.
Yeah, Vicky's like yelling at the camera.
Yeah,
She's
Vicky's
really mad.
very passionate.
Yeah.
Which is nice that they maybe still keep in touch because they haven't lived together since
No, it
Delores
seems
was in
for sure, I
fourth
think
grade.
they're-
Yeah,
touch.
it seems like they are.
Yeah.
Because she is saying all she wants. She wants to know who she is.
Yeah,
It's a
hard.
basic.
She
It's
literally
something
just
Literally
that-
we
wants
all
to know
have.
what her name is and what her birthday is.
Yep, that's what she says.
And then like Mingo.
oh my gosh. So Unsolved Mysteries, it took some coercing because Mingo didn't want to talk to them.
File it under puss.
But then eventually he would, and he sat down to do the interview. And Delores, the queen that she is, took that opportunity to confront him because
In
apparently...
the nicest way possible.
Oh, she's such a sweetie. She's like kneeling down next to him.
She's like, hey,
Like, while I have
little
you
baby
sitting
grown
here.
man
Yeah.
that's still afraid of their dead mama.
Yes. So, because she remembered, and when you look at her, she's not lying.
No.
And she would have no reason to lie.
Nope.
She says that she recalled as a child Mingo saying, I know the truth, but I'm not going to tell you, or I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Kind of like holding it over her head, which is gross. And then when interviewed, and then when she was coercing, like trying to talk to him and have him tell her anything, he was just like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
He's just like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Which, like, what does he even have to be afraid of? Because she
His
wasn't
dead
his real
mother.
mother either.
No, but
right?
they-
But there's no,
I
like,
know.
existing family to be like, what the fuck? Why
They're
did you do
living-
that? Or
I don't know. But the fear
Yeah.
that they have
Yeah.
of this woman, and
Yeah.
she's been gone for years.
For
They are
years.
not fucking around.
She's been gone since the 50s.
Yeah, Mingo didn't talk because Mingo is afraid of his past adoptive mother.
Yeah,
like his
it's-
dead adoptive mother.
It's a strong held belief that they hold about her. so.
Yeah, I mean, as a shaman or something, they probably think that you transcend death on a certain level.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like that person is watching me, and I do not want the repercussions of their anger.
Well, they
That's it.
also have high respect for the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And so it's also a matter of that. It's cultural, and I understand it, but it's also holding this
When you're
woman
when
from
you're
getting
like
answers.
when basically your little sister is on her knees, like trying to get you to say what you already said, and you're
Yeah.
still so afraid. It just
Yeah.
and it's something that I don't understand. But oh man,
Yeah.
the Catholic guilt, guys,
Yep.
it's deep. It's deep.
So that's where the segment ends, basically. No answers, and there's not an update on Unsolved Mysteries.
Which I was surprised by
Me too.
again.
Okay, so everything that I found, we couldn't have done this even 5 years ago, probably, because everything I found was like Twitter or Reddit stuff.
Nice.
So a lot of people really care about Maria. Like Sitcoms Online has
Delores.
threads. Oh, Delores. Sorry, I'm looking at Maria's name.
It's okay.
Thank you. A lot of people really care about Delores. Are posting about like we remember seeing this segment. We want to know where she is. We want to know if she ever found her family.
Yeah.
I remember being so sad when I saw this. Like it really touched them because,
Yeah.
like we were saying, we can't even understand what this must be like. Like she truly has nothing to hold on to that is hers.
It's crazy.
This is from Ladykin on Reddit. She's posting on a thread about Delores Valadez. Interesting that we talked about the subreddit Unsolved Mysteries people, because she posted this, which I'll read to them, and they immediately took it down.
Interesting.
So I'll read it. I did a bunch of searches with all this stuff. Turns out Maria was married to a man named Agapito and had a bunch of kids. But remember how she told
not
people
have
she
kids?
couldn't have any kids. In 1943, 4 years before Delores was born, Agapito died. By this time, all the children were over 20 and had likely moved out of the house.
What the?
Except for a girl who would have been about 14 or 15.
Oh, damn.
According to a census of their household, the girl was 12 in 1940 and her name was Esther.
Oh, my God.
That would mean that
I have
Esther...
goosebumps. I have goosebumps.
I do. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That
Oh my
would
God.
mean that Esther was 16 or 17 when Delores was born.
Oh.
So,
Which would explain why the slightly older siblings
Yeah.
are tight-lipped. Because they remember.
Oh my god.
but then maybe Vicky's not older. Yeah, she would have been older. I just don't understand why Vicky wouldn't say something when she acts so mad on...
Well,
I
maybe
don't
Vicky
know.
wasn't old enough to remember, but I think
Maybe.
Mingo was.
Because Mingo was older than Vicky, so Mingo could have been 6, and maybe maybe
and
Vicky
that's
was
why
3.
he, as like an 8-year-old, is
Was
like,
like,
I
I
know what
know.
happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was his sister.
So
Oh my god. Oh my god.
this is still Ladykin on Reddit. So Esther was probably her mom and Maria was her grandmother, but Esther probably had Delores out of wedlock, obviously. So Maria wouldn't tell Delores who her real mom was.
And that's why Delores took it way more personally and wouldn't adopt her the way she adopted those other kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so cruel and fucked up.
Well, it's like, what case was it where Son of Sam, where they used to just tell kids,
Your
your mom
parents
just
died.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't think about how is this going to affect the kid when they
Yes.
get older. You can't just make up some bullshit story. Kids are smart.
Right.
Yeah.
So Maria made up this story because she was
Ashamed of her daughter.
well, and she was a widow, so she could have maybe made up the story of you're my daughter,
Right.
Agapito, and my
That wouldn't
daughter, but
yeah.
he's dead, so she couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So she's trying to think of a way to make up the story.
And people knew
And
she
she
come for the
also-
foster system.
And to also say she couldn't have kids. It's like
So weird.
she's just trying to cover.
Yeah.
So weird.
So, and then she ends it by, I know some of this is speculation, but I figured I would share this with you guys. Hopefully Miss Valadez has found out what she needs to know. She really seemed like a nice person. Like, this tone is what so many of the sitcoms online and
Yeah.
Reddit threads are like about Delores. They really care about her.
Yeah. There are some stories that stick with people. Like,
Yes.
you know, this one
Totally.
and Matthew Chaser are a great example of
Yeah.
people just being really compassionate and just eager.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you kind of adopt these stories along the way. And I think for a lot of people, it becomes your like pet project or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a really good theory that I think I agree with. Some of the other theories are it was a matter of incest within the family, and that's why like they wouldn't tell, you know, that would cause reason for secrecy.
I don't think
maybe.
it even needs to be
but I
that
don't
deep.
think it has to be incest because in that time, especially in Catholicism,
Getting pregnant
being-
out of wedlock was
exactly.
enough.
I think
Especially
that's
at
enough to
14 or
lie
whatever,
about.
12, 14.
Yeah.
So then last thing I found just this morning as I was like doing some last minute searching is just a really short Twitter thread where someone posts on Twitter. It's just unresolved mysteries at @r_unresolved. They post the subreddit, The Strange Story of Delores Valadez, an old unsolved mysteries lost love case. Was it ever solved? And then like they post that on their Twitter. Then someone named whose Twitter handle is Chio Flowers says, please keep touch with me for more information. #Delores Valadez, #we are looking for you. So then I like started to scroll down. The posts are kind of all out of order how they replied to this Twitter, but it's basically this other family who says, my mother believed, so this woman, Donna Paquita is her Twitter handle. Mom believed her daughter Priscilla was kidnapped and a deceased baby was given to her and whoever, a midwife or a doctor or whoever told her that her baby had died. But she didn't believe it was her baby. She believed her baby was kidnapped.
What?
So forever she thought, like, I'm guessing this is like right after childbirth. They've looked at Priscilla's date of birth is in October of 1947. Dolores's was in September. So they're like, it was only a month off. And then they post pictures of like their siblings. Chio Flowers, I think, is the niece of these people. Sorry, it gets confusing because she's then posting my aunt looks like her, and then Donna is like, this is my youngest sister Olga, who has similar features, and she says their voices blow me away. It's hard to tell because Delores was so much younger on Unsolved Mysteries, and I can't find a picture of Delores now.
No. There's only that one picture.
But this is like it. This is all I could find on Twitter about this family. But this family has this whole other theory that like
Wow.
Delores
I mean, there
might be
was a
their
ton of-
long lost sister.
Kidnapping of children for orphanages. I just wouldn't go in that direction because it's more work than it needed to be. It just had to be somebody having a kid out of wedlock.
And
like
Maria
it didn't have to
wouldn't-
be that deep or that conspiracy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, unless I mean, I could almost see it if truly she couldn't have other kids, but we know that to not be true. I mean, we're pretty sure. So
I mean,
like
at
I
that
could
point,
see
maybe
her
she couldn't have
taking
out
a-
of age if all of her kids
Right.
were in the 20s.
Yeah.
In their 20s.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Like maybe she couldn't have more
But
kids
it's like,
just
does
because
she? So I could see it happening if she wanted to steal a baby to have more kids. But then why the resentment for Delores her whole life?
That means she would have like committed a felony to get Dolores. She would have like
Right.
heralded
Yeah.
that child.
Yeah.
Especially she was able to easily adopt children. There were people coming to her out of
Yes.
wedlock all of the time.
Yeah.
And while my sympathies absolutely go out to this family,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that would be. It doesn't seem more of a reality than simply her daughter got pregnant and Dolores was.
And I can think of a million stories like that.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened when I was in high school. A
Yes.
girl I know had a kid, and they gave it to somebody in the church. She had to go to church every Sunday and pretend that the baby wasn't hers.
Yeah.
She was 16. I can't imagine what kind of psychological shit that did to her.
Yeah.
If that happened in the mid 90s, I'm sure it happened all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's regardless of the culture or the nationality. Everything is built around shame, you know?
Sorry, there's not like a juicy, definitive update.
I mean,
It's all
that was
theories.
that
but
was better than I thought it was. I thought you were going to be like, Delores found out who she was, or what
She did.
less than what you just did.
Yeah.
And good for you. You got on Twitter.
I only found it through, I don't know. I didn't even have to sign into our Twitter. It just popped up. It wasn't private, so.
That's good because you might have accidentally commented or something.
Uh-huh.
That would have been
That
really
could've gone
awkward.
So yeah, I hope that Delores has some answers or
Yeah.
And I hope her daughter
at
got to go to
peace.
college.
and with
Seriously.
scholarships.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the one thing about it, that when it's out of someone's control, like
It's a
there's gotta be
trickle-down
some sort of a
Yes.
You know, you're living this, like, as her daughter, now you're living with the decisions that someone who was your grandmother for 4 years made.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely unfair.
yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well, that was good work. I don't want to say we nailed it, but
I have not one but two sharesy feelsy recommendations
Ooh.
this week. The first one is the new season of True Detective, season 3. If you can steal anyone's HBO password, do it right now.
like I'm about to.
God forbid you get your own.
It truly is. Yeah, it's actually easy to get your own now.
I know, but it
used to
just
be
adds
hard.
up. We pay for
Yeah,
so
no,
Oh yeah,
much
no, you
stuff.
can totally
Yeah,
have
girl,
ours.
you can
but
share either one of ours.
It's
Okay.
easily accessible now. But Mahershala Ali is amazing. It's so good. I hate to say it, but it might be better than the first season.
That's
the second
awesome.
season was garbage, so.
Yes.
But I love you, Rachel McAdams, still.
Yes.
It's so good. And then a second thing that I have been loving is Oprah's new podcast called Masterclass.
What?
You guys,
Oh my God.
it's so good.
Please tell me more.
It's not. So I listen to Super Soul Sunday also, which is a lot of her like having conversations with these people. Masterclass is like famous people who she's clearly edited out her talking to them and asking them questions. So it's just a narrative of like the most important parts of their story. So like on the way here, I was listening to Stevie Nicks. It was so amazing. I
okay.
didn't want to stop. I listened to John Lewis yesterday, who's like the civil rights advocate, an incredible man. The Jay-Z one is so good. It's just really good. And
Okay.
it's like people who it's like, oh, I don't need to know more about these rich people. But obviously
Or
she
these
has
rich
a lot
people
of,
in general.
She has a lot of people of color on there, and like it's Reba McEntire, come on. Not a person of color, but still a lady. Still a true lady.
I love
good.
Stevie Nicks and Reba McEntire. They were like, I was on drugs.
Reba? No, I don't think so.
Reba was on a ton of blow. That's how she got skinny. She talks about it in her autobiography.
Really?
Yes, girl.
Oh, she left that out of Masterclass.
Well, sorry, Reba.
Listen to it. That's all.
Nice. I have a recommendation. I wanted to recommend this book since like 2 weeks after we started the podcast, but something else always comes up. And now I'm just going to focus on recommending this. It is called The Indifferent Stars Above, the harrowing saga of the Donner Party Bride.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm scared.
It is by Daniel James Brown. And holy smoke. Like you think, I mean, I don't want to be like, you think you know. You don't think you know. You're like, oh, the Donner Party, they ate each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like this book is so insane that like you have to kind of put it down once in a while and like walk around the room and then pick it back up.
Oh my gosh.
It is like the writing is very like it's not like nonfiction. It isn't dry. It's so good, and you're just the entire time. I mean, you and I are very similar. Like you're just panicking. You're just like, oh God, oh no, not this. It's like what's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now? And then
I'd be
like
very interested.
all of the things happen.
Great.
Yeah, it's really good. So I learned about it from the guys on last podcast on the left did an amazing series on the Donner Party. And Marcus Parks recommended this book. I read it. Now I'm recommending it to you guys. It's incredible. So definitely if you're a reader and you think you might give 1% of a shit about the Donner Party, you should read it.
Oh, I'm adding it to my library list right
Yeah,
now.
it's so good. I wish I didn't have it on
Digital.
Yeah,
all
I wish I could share that with you. It's such a bummer.
So, 2 weeks from today, if you're listening on the day that this episode comes out, we will release episode 13. And we just want to start giving a little bit of a teaser to the next episode in case people want to keep watching along or start watching along on Amazon Prime. Episode 13 is going to be a good one. We cover the very sad death.
Well, it's going to be so fun,
It's
guys.
going to be good but sad. Of Lee Selwyn, who was a young DJ in the rock scene of LA. And there are many good reenactments of like hair band.
I'm envisioning like Poison or Motley Crue.
Well, yes, because he's also in a like not a motorcycle gang, but he likes motorcycles.
Like an LA DJ motorcycle guy.
I just like when you watch it, I just imagined the directing of it. You'll have to see it, but it's good. And we'll also be covering the missing persons case of Michael Rosenblum and a silver-haired sweetheart swindler who takes advantage of widows and elderly women in, you guessed it, Florida.
That's where they all live.
I was going to say Manhattan, Lower East Side.
No.
Oh, okay.
Warm Florida. So yeah, if you want to watch the episode before you listen, it's obviously not a requirement, but you could, and then you'll be aware of what weird things we're talking about.
Yeah.
When we talk about the visuals. So you have 2 weeks to do that on Amazon Prime, episode 13.
If you like our podcast, please tell other people about it. That's the best way for us to get out there. An easy way to do that is to send them our Instagram or Facebook information. And we would really like to keep growing our little RM community, yet to be named,
Yes.
as of recording this episode.
Yes.
So word of mouth is the most organic way for that to happen. So please just tell people about us.
And we want to start in the near future putting out some mini episodes that we are going to call
Oh my God. It's so good.
Can I say it?
Yes.
Are You Ready? Go.
Short stacks.
Yes.
It's a pancake and a Robert Stack joke.
Because we love both.
Yes.
Breakfast and Robert Stack.
Short stacks. At first, Alison and I, Eliza, thought, what should it be? It should be something with Robert Stack. Oh, we'll call it Small Stacks.
Stacks.
And we gave a big double high five.
They were really
we
proud of themselves.
actually double high-fived
We
each other.
did.
I have never
They
done
did
that.
while I was standing aghast.
And
at
Karlin
their
said,
miss.
no, y'all.
I think you mean short stacks.
And we did.
we do. Yep.
Thank goodness for Karlin.
Pancakes.
Could you imagine what this podcast would be like if Karlin
No.
wasn't involved? Jesus Christ.
No, I can't. Okay, so with the short stacks, if you are excited about those like we are, please send us an email and you could tell us about like your favorite unsolved mystery or a cold case. Maybe any nostalgia surrounding watching the show when you were a kid. We've heard some stories about like people remember watching it as a kid with their dad or their grandfather or something that just like brings back memories and you're scared and just different things like that. That's kind of why we created this show.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
and also like being able to update people on the cases.
Yeah, and there are some people that are writing to us and saying like, "Oh, this is an unsolved crime that I was a girl and I was around the same age that this girl that went missing." So write to us and tell us your story because when we make these short stacks, they're going to be completely listener generated. So if you want more from us, we want more from you guys.
Yeah,
So we
please.
want to hear your stories and we want to put it out there for you. And yeah, let's make an episode about it.
So our email is resolvedmysteriespodcast@gmail.com. So you can email us there. And our P.O. box is another place you could send us these stories. Oh my gosh, if you sent us an actual in-person letter
I would
that we could hold in our
absolutely
hands,
have
we
it
would
professionally framed.
We would die. It's 14005, Portland, Oregon 97293. Follow us on Instagram at @re_solved mysteries, Twitter and Facebook at Resolve the Pod. And thank you so much for listening. We love you all so much. Keep up with us on social media so that we can keep in contact and be talking. We love to get messages and comments
And
from
don't
you.
forget to rate and review, please.
Oh, please, please, please.
Yes.
Please
Who are we
give us
donating
those
to again
reviews.
this month?
Oh, Rain.
Yeah.
Rain. for the
So,
month of
February.
February. Get that R in there. Okay, y'all.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Nailed it.